Oh, we got Lone and McCrazy here. What is good, my dudes? Ah, man, my fucking throat. And just like that, the video is not now demonetized. Yes! I love me! And my potty mouth for no reason. Also, I should make sure I take this out of my pocket so the audio is not awful. There we go. Hopefully it's good. Is it coming to... I never hit go. I forgot we don't have a thing yet. Where's the button? Is it this one? This is the one. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Hopefully doing absolutely just the best. The absolute best. I didn't know this is the thing. Man, I feel like I got something stuck in my throat. Anyways, I didn't know this was a thing. I was like, oh, there's Withering Waves gameplay, but like a few content creators were given access to it. But I guess they also gave access to like a there's some of those channels that have like 5 million subscribers, something crazy. But all they do is like upload like very clean gameplay, and that's just like for whatever reason people are like, that's the guy who we're just gonna get clean gameplay from, and bang, and they gave him a sponsored video, I think. But it's just like the first kind of beginning aspect of the video. It's just the story. I'll be honest, dude. I think this game looks, and maybe they're leaning too hard into like the whole shell-shaded God Ray, whatever. But I think this game looks much better than Genshin. Like, as far as visuals, I can't play the gameplay, but visually, the story also, I might be kind of fucked up. But I fucking think the story looks awesome. It's not like a bunch of kids running around a world and, like, we know no one's really gonna die, you know? Or, like, if they do, they'll come back, you know, like Dragon Ball or some shit. This one, I feel like there's one of the dudes who's like he's like a goat boss, essentially. I think he looks rad. Also, yeah, I don't know, I just like the art style more. It's like actual grown-ass people, not like kids, you know? And yeah, I think there's actually only been one character that I've seen that's like a weirder ratio of like pint size, you know? It's a short stack kind of vibe. Also, who just fucking redeemed a sadistic thing, you son of a bitch? Sorry. It was good. Cat. Oh, how should I say this? Ka-spoo-one? How? Ooh, you gotta help me with this, man. I don't even know what to give a nickname by. K? Can call you K? Who's the K? And the redeemer of the saddest points. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a bunch of stuff to talk. We have Withering Waves. Did you guys also know that Nightingale came out in early access? So it's kind of a broken mess. But hey. And we got Helldivers that we gotta talk about. I had so much fun playing with you guys yesterday. Again, I don't know how to describe it properly. I think it's also because I've been hearing so much shit about the game, like Helldivers. I've watched, like, there's so many videos about it because it's so popular, etc. But I don't know, I'm having a hard time, like, parsing out exactly how I feel about it. Also, is the camera too low? Like, my head's getting cut off a little, but who cares? It doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm finding it somewhat interesting, I guess, how to like fully convey what I'm saying, because a part of me thinks the nodes that I'm battling with is the game is way more fun to actually play, but it's not that it's not even fun to watch. I think eventually it would get too much. Like, it's not like this game where like Withering Waves is marketed and made to be like same thing as Power World. Like, there's some games that are like, we're going to leverage every like stimulus option we can with saturation, lighting, dynamic, different looking characters that are like completely different compared to everything else. God, that scared the shit out of me. That was just a sliding piece of foam. Anyways, but yeah. Whereas I do think Helldiver's aesthetic is much more neutral. It's much more calm. It's not trying to be like saturation, contrast, colors, you know? Which is good, but it's also, I think, it leads it to be more of like a game that I think people will visually eventually simmer down on. But the gameplay element of it, which is what a lot of people have been talking about, the gameplay is great, but it feels, it's always, I feel very similar when people were playing the finals. People were saying that like this harkens back to a feeling I had when I played Battlefield for the first time, when I was playing Modern Warfare for the first time. Like, there's this thing to it that feels really different, and Helldivers feels pretty freaking different. Especially like, but it's all doing stuff that's not shocking. Like, it's like I still think it'd be really hard for someone to predict that Helldivers is going to explode as much as it did. But when you play it, you get it. You know, it's like the gunplay is sick. Everything looks fantastic. It's very hitty, weighty, all that kind of stuff. Like, it gets. Again, I love that we're finally at a stage in gaming when I feel like we're finally experiencing a technological jump. And I honestly think we could have achieved that like years ago, but people were still on the like graphical boner nonsense where like they're trying to make the most beautiful possible show or game possible. When I think in reality, what people really want is more things to do. Like I think there's a point where they probably did want like Uncharted and like Last of Us, which is like, you know, they want like really meaningful story-driven experiences. But after games like Control and like even Alan Wake 2 did okay, but not great sales-wise, I think people are like, it's not that we don't love that stuff, but we want anything but it at this point in our lifetime. You know what I mean? Also, what did Don't say? I bought Helldivers. Oh, you brought years ago. Let's go, Alone. I can't wait to play with you on either Thursday or Friday. I think we've got to squeeze a Power video in there or stream in there. But we might just do like a hefty boy stream. I'm not sure when. It could either be like we do a long stream on Friday. I come in locked and loaded with a Monster Energy drink, ready to just devour my insides, essentially. For the love of the game, and we play 2 games and have a 4-hour stream, 2 hours per stream. That could be a good balance, I guess. It'd be harder on me, but fuck it, who cares? Also, what's good? Kay says, "Are you recording currently?" No. Oh, what do you mean record? What do you mean? There's a big delay on the stream, and I'll always try to read the top of the chat and not the bottom of the chat. But yes. But if you mean, what do you mean? Am I recording currently? Like what? Oh, you mean like what am I recording currently? Right now, we're still in the. I have a VR channel. I'm not sure if you know that, Kate, but we have a VR channel. And I'm editing a video that I think Lone is going to fucking love. Also, oh my god, I almost spilled my coffee. Fucking shit. My heart jumped on my chest there. I'm also recording, I think Raid would also think it's cool. What do? You guys have, on a surface level, really in common? What's good, Rasta? Rasta says, hey, Grin. What's good, Rasta? Have you seen the Withering Waves gameplay? That's why the word jumped. Kay says, you are streaming on... Yeah, we're streaming on 2 platforms. Yeah, I tell you. We're streaming on YouTube and on Twitch. So I got 2 chats in front of me. It's also it should work. I'm not sure if Stream Elements is popping off or not, but there should be text coming up on screen just so you can see everything. I think it actually is doing this weird duplication thing I need to turn off, but we'll see. I might have fixed it. I might have fucked it up. I don't know. Yeah, Red says hopefully crossplay works really well on a PS for PS4 and PC. It should. Yeah, it should, especially with this being like a Sony and Steam kind of game, or PC game, I should say. But honestly, man, it's really cool to see, because weirdly enough, I mean, I'm not sure if this... Yeah, I don't think it counts. It counts, definitely counts. I was going to say, it was cool to see like Xbox get a win with Power World, and it'd be such a big thing. And then it's also cool to see Sony get such a win with Helldivers. But man, okay. How do you guys feel about like the... I don't know what to call it, but like the rumors, or... Let me just tell you a story. This might be a theory, nonsense, conspiracy theory bullshittery, but it also kind of makes sense to me, especially with what we've seen from Sony. Sony made a big bet a long time ago saying, holy shit, we need to get into live service games. This game, Destiny, has been making so much money. It's also been able to retain players like crazy, yada, yada, yada. So then Sony eventually buys Bungie. Then... Sony also had the ambition to basically get up a bunch of live service games again. So they wanted to do that. So then they said, okay, let's get Bungie to go to all of our other developers, Jesus Christ, all of our other developers, and basically try to see if their live service game was actually going to work out. And supposedly, Bungie was like, not good. Bungie was like, this is not going to work. You have to do this. You have to dedicate this much. You have to put this much more money into it. You need to make this much more kind of content. You need to then market this many more skins, and yada, yada, yada. A lot of the developers, and this is what people are thinking happened with Last of Us, the Last of Us multiplayer game. They're thinking that eventually they just said, yeah, this is not worth the squeeze, even though it was almost done. Like, that's the thing that kills me, is that apparently, the Last of Us multiplayer game was already done, and yet they couldn't market it and like monetize it to the extent in which they wanted to. So then they just didn't release it, which is wild. And people are saying that this largely could be possibly because of Sony. But then you see Helldivers, and then this is what people are arguing is, I don't even think Helldivers was even remotely in the same category as making money for PlayStation. So I don't even think I don't think they let Bungie look at it. And lo and behold, it's actually a really, like, at least to me, it seems like a really reasonable monetization plan. You know, so yeah. Red says, never mind. The text is not on the screen for either chat. Never mind. I do see. Yeah, it just goes away pretty fast. It just jumps away pretty quick. And it should be both, but who knows? Stream Elements sometimes, like, the bot takes a while to kick up on. I don't know. It feels like it's very inconsistent for me. Kay says, TBH, I never really watched any other content except for Let It Die stuff back in the day, but I very much just enjoy watching you because thank you so much. It's very sweet. Personality, I don't have much of a personality at all. In fact, it's very abrasive and it's too much, and I talk too quickly. But thank you. Very sweet, kind words. Rasta says, I can say people are going crazy about it. Sorry, yeah, I can say people are going crazy about it, and some people have been dumb and saying that Withering Waves copied Genshin. That's just ridiculous. Dude, you will always lose me as soon as you start saying copying. Everything is copying. Everything is copying. Like, it's crazy to me. Yeah, it's nuts. Everything copies from everything. Unless it's like a one-to-one copy where somebody is taking the identical property and then putting it over. I even think the dumb, and people really push this to the point where it's really dumb. You guys ever watch those like TikTok bullshit things where it's like just a normal video that is fine, and then there's like a blip on the side of the thing? It used to be like, at least it made up of like 50% of the video, like the guy was taking up too much space, just standing there going, that's it, and I just want to blow my head off. Anyways, but now it's literally a fucking pixel of a guy in the bottom corner like, I just don't want to take up much of the screen, but I still want to just take this, repurpose it, and throw it up. I don't even really hate that. Sorry, I hate that, but I don't really think that's even too much. At least it's something. And again, all that does is it lets you learn. Like, again, if somebody did take your shit and like repost it immediately, maybe they did something better. Maybe they took it and they made it slightly better in their image, and then it worked out better. Maybe you could learn from them and actually become better at creating, not become better at doing the one thing that you ever created and then trying to monetize the fuck out of it. I'm getting warm. I need to take out this sweater probably. Copies Genshin. Here comes the questions. Where did Genshin? It did Breath of the Wild, and before that, Breath of the Wild took it from a bunch of other ones. We talked about it beforehand. Yes, Rasta. Their game looks like people don't realize Genshin is inspired from, but yeah, everything. Yeah, but I think, yeah, and everything you can always lead back to something. Everything takes from the other thing. As long as it's like the same thing where it's like the meme, but it's like, let me copy your homework, and your friend's like, sure, but change it a little bit. That's fine. Changing a little bit is enough. Okay. Again, if the change that they made it better, and you can learn from it, then you win because you learn from it. And if you're an idiot who doesn't learn from it, then get fucked. Okay? Like, what the hell? If you want to just live in a purgatory hell where no advancement gains because you're hoarding this thing, you're a creator. Don't be a fucking person who has one thing and you guard it with your life. You have to make more. You have to evolve. You have to be better. You have to hone your skill, etc. This happens with music. This happens with everything. Also, it looks good. It's more. It's not like you can. It's not like one person can create something that the whole world can then play. Like you can only have so much before you basically have reached your threshold to provide. Therefore, another person making their threshold to provide, great. Because why would you want to do that? You can also again learn from them. It's dumb. Copying 1-to-1, not good. Copying 1 to 1.5, totally reasonable. Yes. Also, it looks so good. It look again. People were saying the story might be shit. I actually have the feeling, and I've been wrong before, that the story I'll probably like a lot, just because. Yeah, I should watch a little bit of it though. I just see like the images and like the visualization of it looks great. Resta says Genshin took what was already there on a base, polished it up so it doesn't look like Breath of the Wild, and named it. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if I remember back in that I even pushed back against that. Where like I remember people were saying Genshin is Breath of the Wild, and to me, like there's enough new mechanics to where I genuinely do think it becomes a different thing. Like outside of the idea that yes, it happens to be an RPG, yes, there happens to be like a glide and a climb. The melee, the changing between your characters, the way you level your character up. Weapons don't have durability. They actually are fully fledged weapons. So like to me, yeah, to me it's one of the weirder things of, yeah, like it's almost like, imagine if your name was like Tom, and then there was another guy named Tom, and then a person's like you're the same thing because your name is both Tom, and it's like, but you're an entirely different person. You could theoretically feel different things. You could theoretically do all these different things. It's weird to say that they're the same. Not to say your names aren't Tom, but it's to say they're even the same identical person, or not even identical person, but just even similar. You could be completely different people, with two very strong mechanics. Also, it's one thing when something has like the identical, like scaling like to me, it's a weirder thing. Maybe that's right. I don't know. Basically, I just don't like the idea of like a really overall good concept and idea that could be applied to 1,000 other games being dominated by like, this is a Zelda thing. You know what I mean? Like the stamina running, and like the climbing the world being a being a Breath of the Wild thing, or the gliding being a Breath of the Wild thing. It's a little weird. I don't know. Like I don't like us locking that down to that faction. You could say that was where I first seen that mechanic, but it feels weird to be like that one thing, because I feel like that's something that people could think of. Like two people inside of the world could be like, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if you could, like, instead of just sprinting in a straight line, you could climb up something? Wouldn't it be cool if you could also glide? I could see people coming up with the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, you can't fucking surf in Genshin. You can't take a shield, throw on your feet, and surf. Dale's got that on Genshin. It looks good, yeah. I wonder how it plays, because even when I see people play, I think the camera movement is a little much. I see like the camera look like it jitters quite a bit, like it's just a lot. But I imagine you could turn that off in the settings. Like, imagine there's like motion blur and like shit like that I'm not gonna love. But I think you could turn that off probably. But yeah, it looks good, so good. And also, I like the fact that like your characters, especially with the builds that I've seen, they look way more complex and interesting than Genshin. I think everyone's hope for this game is to honestly be very similar to Genshin as far as its story and combat feel. Because regardless if Genshin is like 2 buttons, it still feels pretty good with those 2 buttons. You know what I mean? But then I think the main ambition that people want from this game is for it to be more. I don't know if I agree with people saying I want more like a much, much harder version of Genshin. I wouldn't mind that, but I want more depth of gameplay. I want more combat depth, I guess I should say. Like the fact that there's like this parry system that genuinely seems to be like really thought out. There is like, you can summon forth echoes of like like summoned enemies essentially. All that sounds rad. Also, I think how you level yourself up is by capturing demonic monster things, and then you have them in like this gourd. I think they actually nixed the gourd. I haven't seen the gourd for a while there. A little bit lame. But the point is that you basically capture these monsters, and then you like store them, and then I think you're like grabbing their power from them, which is really neat. But that's something I have seen from the gameplay thing, that like there are some characters that are really good when they're I guess in the support role. But unlike Genshin, where you have to literally like switch to them, activate their ability that's going to last for a long time, you switch to them, they persist on the battlefield whilst doing your bonus thing, and then you like run around, and that looks rad. Catch him on chat. Lone says no. I stay away from. You stay away from TikTok. I always feel. Oh, sorry. When I say TikTok, I mean YouTube Shorts. I just think like I'm not gonna call a TikTok a short. It's like the same thing as calling X Twitter or something, or calling Twitter X. My bad. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's just like it's. You guys know this. When I've said something in my head enough, like even just 3 times, especially if it's a name, it's so hard for me to break from that, because my brain's just like, listen, we can only pick one. And I probably should slow down when I first see someone so I can really, nail the name. But then sometimes I can't even see the name properly. Anyways, like my brain doesn't want me to look at it right. Like it starts going two word lines, not word lines, 2 sentences started to push into each other. Unless it's one linear line, that's fine. But when there's words stacked like below each other, that's when they can fall into each other. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Never mind. No, I say, Red says, the only TikTok I see is from reaction videos from YouTube and the YouTubers I watch. That's a good way to do it too. That's a good way to do it. I don't really watch TikTok. I still have a meme app, and it's absolutely racist. Always. It is all propaganda. I think the moderation on it has completely left. I have unfortunately seen things I don't want to see. I've seen a man pick up a firecracker and his hand explode, and I think, why the fuck is this even here? And then within an hour it goes away or something, like it's taken down. But I'm like, Jesus. And because I don't want to go on the TikTok thing. I know people have a Reddit app. I don't want to have to learn how to do Reddit. I literally just need something when I'm pooping. I just need something to spin through, essentially. And that's what I need. You know what I mean? It's honestly, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to kind of like constantly see horrible shit, racist, horrible, fucking bad stuff. People like being super political on like a funny app. And you just having to be like, just tune it out. Just tune it out, because that's life, but that's life, baby. Also, there's the gourd. I don't know why it doesn't show up anymore. I wonder if you can like toggle it. Fluff says, also what's good, Fluff? Fluff says, I can't believe Prong copied yes. Yeah, Fluff is the one who's telling me this. Fluff is talking about all these games that have inspired each other all the way down to like the fucking wire of Mario and shit. Red says, specifically VTubers watching meme videos or daily dose of it. Dude, my fucking world shattered. Do you guys know that Daily Dose isn't just like a kid in his room vibing? He's like a 30 to 40, I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe he's like, he looks pretty old. He looks around like either 27 to like 38. And I got kind of sad. Not that I didn't need him to be young or whatever. I got kind of sad because what he said, I watched him in like the Twitch red carpet, and I do not think he should have showed his face. But anyways, he basically was talking about how like, yeah, Daily Dose is basically a business. I have a bunch of people like scan videos for me, and I talk about it that way. And he's talking like a normal guy, and then he basically like, he's like, and then I make my voice do this. Hey guys, and he made his voice the voice essentially for Daily Dose of Internet, and I was just like, oh, am I the only one who had the perception in his brain that like this was just some kid who just happened to like make it big by like finding a neat little formula of like, let's just scan Reddit, find some clips, throw them up for a 30-minute video, and then leave, and he does that enough to where people just joined the ride, and now he's like 15 million subscribers, and then he travels constantly, so you're like, that's cute. But then hearing about how he's kind of like manufactured a lot of it, like by hiring people and stuff, it's like, it's still cool like little bunch of videos, but it's kind of the same feeling of like, oh, I thought you were sounds weird, but like a real person. When there's too many steps, but when people start talking about like the businessification of stuff, there's a part of me that disconnects. When people start talking to me about like the things that they think about in terms of like the strategy of how to make people more happy and excited, then that feels better. But when people start talking about businessy things, I feel like they're not quite the same thing. One is like a person passionately talking about how they've honed their skill and how they, you know, this is a variable of their skill that they want to understand and maybe become better at. And then there's a version of it of like, let me make more money kind of thing. Which is fine. Everyone wants more money, so it's yeah. But Rasa says, but I will play Withering Waves. No, not because I don't like Withering. Wait, sorry. Do you mean I will not play Withering Waves? Because I don't like Withering Waves. It's only my decision, but to flat out take my time and just say what the game is from, and this game is from, I feel like would be. What do you mean? Do you mean like it sounds like you're saying I'm not going to personally be playing this, but I personally don't understand why people are going out of their way to shit on it for something that they don't know it's going to be, or for stupid reasons. Is that what you're saying? And it's funny to see people kind of bicker. Is that right? Kay says, what games are you playing / making content of currently, except for Genshin? We actually we stopped playing Genshin a year ago. Yeah, we no longer playing Genshin. That's why I'm excited for Withering Waves, because because Genshin never was going to have an end game. We left it behind in dust, Kay. Right now, I went down the rabbit hole of VR. I fell in love with it. I love the videos we make of it. So right now, we made a brand new channel a long time ago, maybe like a year ago at this point, called Mind Palace of Madness, which is just, my goal was to just make the most highly edited videos that every single one of those videos I would be proud of having there. And I think that a person could watch that video 2 years from now and still find it fun. Whereas a lot of times I was daily uploading and just shitting out stuff and just, not great. I got it right, Rasta? Okay, good. And yeah, so I have this one video, this one channel called Mind Palace of Madness, which is strictly VR content. So if you want to see some cool POV content and mods and stuff like that, that's a good channel to see. If you're not into VR, don't look at that. You're going to fuck up the algorithm for me. Anyways, and then recently I just fell in love with Power World, so I was so enjoying it so much that I wanted to actually dump it into that game because I really was enjoying it. Fluff says, Breath of the Wild inspired many games that came afterwards. Genshin was no exception, and even Craftopia was shameless about. Yeah. As they should be. Again, I think I would hate to live in a world where a really good idea does not get adopted, essentially. And so long as it's not like too... I do feel like there is a tragedy of somebody who is like dedicated so much time and effort to like coming up with a really good answer, and then for people just to have like swept the answer, like ripped the answer away from them, make as much money on that answer, and then they don't get any of the credit, or don't get any of the money, I should say, or the value. That's tragic, I guess. It is. But a lot of times I don't see that. A lot of times I see a person who basically did one thing and then decided that's good enough, and then decided not to innovate or improve themselves in it like anymore, which I don't think is. Yeah, at that point you just let the ball come out of your fall out of your hands, which is not necessarily all your fault, but it is somewhat your fault. The voice definitely sounds forced. Yeah, the thing. Well, he makes it sound like he basically was trying to say he talks slower and tries to talk as clearly as possible, which is the outcome of his voice. He says he strains his voice, strains his voice. And I think he does it. He says he does it because he has an international audience and people who don't know English, it's harder to understand them and things like that. Fluff says, but I'm used to VTubers putting on a character voice or just an on-screen voice. That's weird to me. I don't know if I'd love that. I feel like that'd be very strange. Like I get the. Do you mean like getting on? Like I don't know how to put it. Subsuming a character, because that I kind of get. Like a person playing like I know a lot of male VTubers. If they're like a butler, they'll try to talk more suave or whatever. That makes sense. Because they're playing it into a character. It's not even like they're changing their voice. It's just like that's a part of the character they're playing. But when VTubers like make their voice higher pitch or something like that, that's well, honestly, I don't even notice it for the most part. But if you ever did hear their like normal voice, I'd be like, why don't you just talk to me in normal voice? I feel like this is a weird like you think I need this to like you, and that's not the case, you know. Or maybe it is for some people, but I don't know. Kay says, or interesting in trying. Ooh, a game that I'm interested in trying. I think we're all excited for Dragon's Dogma coming out this year. It's gonna be huge. Right now, though, I feel like my plate's full. Like, I even wanted to play a Nightingale, which is like a fun survival game, but I'm having so much fun with Power World, and I want to keep playing that game until I'm done making like the massive videos I want to make of it, like how to have the strongest start, how to make OP pals, and then I think we can chill, and then we could probably like talk about like an update whenever there's an update. Kay says, lol, I literally thought Daily Dose was yeah, exactly, like a type of like that, but maybe without the like hate, without like the vengeful heart. Also, dude, you know what I always kick myself for? It's one of like the more depressing things in my like come up, so to speak, of all this stuff. I remember it was back in the Battleborn era. It was right around the time when Leafy was popping off, and I remember being like, I was talking to one of the only content creator friends I knew at the time, and it was yes. But anyways, you understand why I said in a minute. I basically said that I thought I had a really cool idea, which was if people really like this kind of thing, and I didn't really mind the like exploration of weird oddity in his videos. But what I disliked is the fact that he was always so mean to people. It seemed like why not embrace and try to understand people's oddness, and trying to understand them rather than just like shit all over them constantly. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to have a channel? And I had an idea for a video of like just doing the same thing that he was doing, but instead trying to find these oddities, these weird things, and then exploring them the same way, talking about them, showcasing the things, building a story from them. But then that content creator person I was with said, what a fucking shitty idea, absolutely terrible. I think it'd be off. And I never had such a negative response to telling anyone anything. And he said it would not do well, and it kind of started a weird fight where he started insulting me, and I was kind of like, oh, yeah, it's probably a stupid idea. Unfortunately, at the time, I was a bitch and let other people decide a lot of things for me, and I never did it. But I thought, looking back on it, I was like, fuck, I actually would have done pretty okay, because there's already a lot of like essay channels and like news channels and things like that do that, and I'm like, damn. Don't listen to toxic people, basically. Also, what's good? Talk Nerd to Me. Oh my god, it's been so long, Talk Nerd to Me. When are you going to make a return to Let It Die? Probably never, my boy. I'm kind of at the point where I'm done with it. Even like with Let It Die 2, I love the game, I love the people, but I have much more of a love for VR at this point, and like the creativity I find in that game, in that sphere constantly, with like weird VR games, with the immersion, the depth, the kind of content that I can create, I think is genuinely unique and like interesting outside of just the game, which is unfortunate because most people like how they find content is by finding you through a game they like. But as far as just making content goes, I love that much more. And frankly, we've had so many other games that to me have been like such a breath of fresh air, especially if you've been playing games for a while. Like Power World being just a very different feel, especially if you haven't played Pokemon. And yeah, and then same thing with Helldivers, just being a good breath of fresh air where it's like more of a grounded, meatier, and yet challenging in the right way that it can be challenging. Again, there's a weird thing in like games where, as much as I love FromSoft, I also think I kind of hate the effect of FromSoft, which to me, like, I think is a good contrast to that is Helldivers, where Helldivers to me is a really neat answer to like, you can make things difficult, or not difficult, satisfying and meaningful. Without necessarily you having to like iframe dodge a boss's flurry of attacks, because I mean, if you really think about it, all it is basically like dying enough to an enemy to then map out their attacks, and then find the windows and then just hit them, essentially. Now that can be harder for some, and yes, and based on your build, some bosses can be easy and other bosses can be hard, for sure. And there's definitely an advantage, like playing a lot of those games, you eventually start to understand their like core components and stuff and such. Awesome. But Helldivers is one of those things that to me, it's like, it's really fun to constantly kind of like kick yourself for like accidentally reloading too early because you just dumped your mag. It's really neat to position yourself in a really cool way so that you can get the drop on enemies. It's a really interesting way of being like, oh fuck, I keep getting, this happened like 3 times to me where I'm shooting at a boss or an enemy, and then I get like hit from the side because there's a bunch of enemies everywhere. So of course they're going to push in from your side. So it's a good thing to like shoot, look around of your surroundings, and then shoot. So there's different ways to make things meaningful, challenging, and fun. And Helldivers, I think, is a good example of that, at least right now, that they've done that. And yeah. Nub says, I have arrived just to inform you episode 2 was even worse. Okay, Nub, hit me with it. For those guys who don't know, Nub, well, first I'm going to ask Nub a question. Nub, what about it is egregious? Could you give us a moment where you're like, that was the worst? To get everyone else caught up to speed, Nub came into the stream yesterday and said, holy shit, Grin. I don't want to butcher his words. He said, the new Avatar TV series on Netflix, I don't know if he said it sucks. I think he said it sucks. I don't think he said he hated it. I think he said it sucks or is terrible. I'm not sure which one. But then he said, I didn't say I didn't like it. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? You say it's terrible, but then it's also, you don't hate it? I don't know. So I'm curious. But that's caught up. Apparently Nub is not a fan of it. Another little tidbit about Nub. I know way more about the things Nub dislikes than 2% of what Nub likes, okay? I still am going on the way me and Nub started our relationship like 7 years ago or 8 years ago, where I knew him as the man that just fully sent him playing Hadada games, essentially. Hadada games. And me just being like, that was honest, and I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. Lone says, hello from Twitch. Hello from Lone from Twitch. To me. Hi. What? Talk Nerdy to me says, I understand. Also, Pal World was fun. I also played it, Cyberpunk 2077. Dude, Cyberpunk 2077, it's going to be one of those games that I'm like salivating of when I can get into. You know what I mean? Because I haven't touched it. I haven't touched it since I played the broken version of it that I thought was still fun, frankly. I can't wait to play it. I also want to let the build people cook. You know, people who make builds, I want to let them cook for a bit. In fact, I'm still trying to wait to see a cool like nanite, like a nanowire build for Cyberpunk that's strictly like mainly nanowire. Because that's the thing that I thought was the coolest. I've seen a build before the big patch for Cyberpunk that was just like a dude running around and eviscerating people. Super fast gameplay. It made you look like how you know the game Fear with like the little demon girl, and then like you running around as the Marine, and you just see like an enemy get eviscerated, and you're like, fucking what? It makes you play as that girl in that game. Does that make sense? So you're playing as like this spectral telekinetic demon that's like floating and flying through the air, and then just going like eviscerated, and then like you just see a person get severed in half. That's what it felt like. That's what I want to go back and play. And they're probably gonna be mods galore. So yeah. Love says stuff like that cause they're more energetic and bubble on stream, but are far more. Oh, okay. So I don't mind that then. Yeah. If you, I feel like everyone. I feel like that that way with my friends too, though. Like I try to be, at least for a little bit, like present, and like really try to be present with the people I'm talking to for a little while, you know. Talk Nerdy to me says, lol, it's still broken. It deletes my save the data and corrupted my Xbox account, so I had to get a refund and buy it separately, order it. But that's hilarious. You still want back in. You still want back in. That's amazing. There are those who stream mode become their everyday. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's hard for me to describe because I feel like I get it. Like there is something that we're like, I think I'm also just naturally a person that like I really enjoy engaging with people and talking to people, but I'm heavily introverted. So like my natural tendency is like I only have 2 hours, 3 hours maybe, before my energy just naturally starts to deplete. So why not just fully send those 2 to 3 hours? Essentially, is how I kind of feel about it. But yeah, I think like using a different voice is to me very strange as just a one linear thing to do. But if you're like, no, I just want to be the best version of myself when I'm streaming, so I try to talk with confidence. I try to like keep pushing forward. I try not to like second guess everything I'm saying, even though I kind of do that still. I get that. Lone says, what a douche. Like who the hell? Just say your idea is shit. Yeah. Well, it's also one of the harder things is when somebody is. You guys ever met someone who was just really good at really passively aggressively like just dissolving you? Like just little comments constantly, just like little jab. Yeah, I really like it as much. Yeah, I don't think it was better as good as your first one. Things like that. And it's just like most deceptive, like I don't know how to put it. Like it feels like you're genuinely in the presence of somebody who is evil. Like there's like people who are like ignorant, and then there's people who are like something deep within you is just constantly subconsciously irradiating, like just corroding everything around it. Just like, but you're just pretend like you're fine. Like that was one of those ones. And the terminally online say that. Which one? The your idea is shit and it won't do. Yeah. Nub says, well, I hate it now. Says the okay. So now you do hate the Avatar thing. Why? Nub says, I definitely don't like it anymore. Episode 2 was the kibosh, Kaiboshi warrior. Huh. I don't know enough about Avatar to know this. All I know is I just love the vibe. It's like Digimon. I know I love Digimon so much. I cannot fucking tell you one thing besides my favorite guy was the dinosaur red guy. I think he turned into a knight and it just looked rad. And yeah. Kay says, I have a strong connection with Let It Die. Me too. I agree. I have a love reverence for it. I played for like 2 to 3 years straight almost. So like I don't know if a lot of like there's some people who definitely are in a community who are way like fucking crazy. They play it for like fucking 5 years nonstop, like 3,000, 5,000 hours, 6,000 hours in that game. Whew. Anyways, I had a period in my life where I was completely mentally screwed, and as defeated, as a defense, I disconnected myself from reality. Yeah, I played a game. Everyone has that game for them. Yeah, yeah. Eventually, I started seeing the world like Tower of Barbs, and myself as a solo player roaming around. Hey, that's not, well. It depends on if you have. It's, I'm not sure what that. There's a whole, that's a whole thing to unpack. I'm not sure if it can be good. It's also not good for like the isolation and loneliness of like it's me against the world. I do think, how do I put it? I've talked to you guys about this beforehand, but there's like a deep belief I have where it's like it comes from the place of I think almost all of us will eventually have to lose what is hopefully really, really important people to us. Everyone, if you've had a decent enough life, you hopefully have a parental figure in your life in some capacity. And unfortunately, one of the things that connects all human beings is that we're eventually going to have to lose those people. Or you commit a worse sin and die before them and causing them unimaginable pain, apparently. So everyone has to deal with that same pain. So for me being who I am, I always think, okay, well, if for instance, if my dad or my mom eventually aren't going to be here, it is my job to understand them and to be all of the best parts of them essentially. And then I started applying that same mindset to everything. I want to know what it takes to be the best student. I want to know what it takes to be the best teacher. I want to know what it takes to be the best employer. And I started getting honestly weird with it, which is, some people are going to really find this odd. But then I started being like, what would it take to be the, what does it mean, or would it take to be a good woman and to be a good, what if you were born in a position in which you happen to be gay? What if you were born in a position if you happen to be trans, or any of these issues we feel nowadays? And you have to think through that process, and you have to you start to get a really good brain about being, I wouldn't say empathetic. It's funny because I think like this whole thing we're talking about is very selfish. It's like I don't want to lose out on what my parents provide me, essentially, which is this feeling of like comfort and love and belief in myself because they believe in me, and etc. So in me trying to understand how to be aspects of them for even myself, it's a very selfish pursuit. You're like, I want to take the part of you that I can't live without, essentially, because I know you're going to leave one day. Anyways, but it's funny how in that selfish pursuit, I think you come back to selflessness, which is because you thought about how to take from all these people, take the best parts of this person, take the best parts of that person. You weirdly understand people better. You understand the struggle it is to be a parent. You understand the struggle it is to be a boyfriend or the girlfriend or whatever it could be. And therefore you feel more connected with people because you understand a lot of them, essentially. Their good parts, the bad parts, the whole shebang. But anyways, but that to me is, it comes from the same premise of like, if you really were to think about it, the person that you guarantee always have all the time is you. So you have hopefully 60, 80, a lot of years with that one person. Why would you not try to learn about that person more, understand them more, grow with that person, etc.? Meet people who are good for that person, etc. All those things. So there's a part of like me against the world that can be good, but there's also a version of it that is born from like hatred and isolation and like envy that can be bad. So I don't know. Yeah. Also, thank you for the hydrate. Good time actually to hydrate. Also, sorry guys, I lost some comments. I gotta scroll up and see what Nub is saying because I did ask him. Let me see. Nub says, the worst arc is removed and worsened. Oh no. And everyone was defeated in the show like it's just toned down and everything still be there, all fucking lies. Okay, okay. I don't know what okay, so they just stripped stuff down. Can you tell me like what they did to a person that doesn't know anything about Avatar? Like they took out a very important moment and it all just seems dumbed down, which is, I mean, I kind of get because it's like a fucking it's like a cartoons. You can draw anything with people. You have to buy stuff. Red says, do Withering Waves have infinite sprinting? Like no, they have stamina. I've seen a stamina. It's like a little circle. I think when I see them run sometimes. And they focus the romance. Nub says, and they force the romance between the two, which means they fuck up the whole Sokka is depressed arc. Who is romancing with who? Okay, better not be with Aang, right? Because Aang's a kid. That's wrong. Yeah. Nub says, I think, unlike the other one, this one is worse because they could have made it good if they had just adapted it properly or just did a one-to-one. Yeah, it's tough. Because to me, this is one of the ones where I feel like they should have done like a one-to-one, just because everyone's complaint about the Avatar guys. Sorry for the sound, by the way. This is gonna just wreck you. Forgive me. I have to take off this hoodie because I'm gonna fucking melt. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's gonna get worse. I better just take it out. I better take it out. Okay. Hey. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That was awful. Give me a minute. Jesus. I knew that was going to not work great. Oh, I'm sweating. Jesus. I still haven't forgotten about the hydrate. Ow. Mother Mary. It's so hot. Don't knock over stuff. Okay. Sorry, gang. Nub says, I can confirm that the live action pretends to care about the original story without understanding the reasons anything was done. Got it. That actually, I feel like that checks out. That makes sense. Okay. Now we can do the hydrate. I'm going to hydrate with some tea. By the way, I did do the olive oil coffee thing. It doesn't taste that bad. As a person who enjoys olive oil like a lot, or just olives in general, Portuguese, all that, it's not bad. It is okay. I wouldn't say it's a positive taste, but it's not negative. It's maybe a little bit negative. Bolty says, I tried out the fight stick today. Oh, the game stick, like the Street Fighter kind of joystick combo thing. That's awesome. How is it? Was it good? And unexpectedly, it wasn't even that bad. Ooh, yeah, I feel like it would take some time to get used to, but I guess also eventually it probably becomes second nature. Nub says the effects are 100% better than the movie. Ooh, actually, I didn't hate the effects. I didn't really hate anything about that movie, to be honest. I know a lot of people hated it. I just, again, I don't think I remember enough about Avatar to really be like, it's my thing. Bodhi says, I tried out fighting stick or fighting sticks. Fight says Bodhi. What? Oh, fighting sticks or flight sticks. Yeah, no, it's fighting sticks, like a Street Fighter fighting stick. Nub says, the arc where was Sokka being sexist and degraded. Oh, right, yeah. But, okay, so yeah, this is what I heard people complaining about. So apparently with the Avatar movie, people were frustrated with the fact that one of the things that's important in that series is that the main brother of the girl, the waterbender girl, who's kind of like the comic relief guy, they're genuinely like the first season is him being pretty sexist and rude and like saying, oh, you can't do anything because you're a woman and all these kind of horrible things. And people were like, the reason why this is important is because later he is humbled and has to change. So it's not that it's an answer of like, you could be a shitty person that has these fucking weird beliefs and actually evolve because you're wrong. And yeah. But people were saying that wasn't changed. But is it changed, Nub? You're saying that they did change that? I thought I heard people say that it wasn't changed. The arc was Sokka being degraded to the woman, and he gets put in his place, trains with them, and then learns his lesson. Yeah. So they took that out, and they just made it like a romance thing? Boldy says, ASMR of an POV inside Logan's hoodie. It is true. I'm sorry. I was trying not to speak because I imagine it's just worse. Doc Nerd to me says, Kay, you do need a DOD. No, I'm still gearing up for it. Kay says, I'm way better. I'm in a way better place today. That's awesome to hear. It's good to hear. Hell yeah. Fucking yes. I'm more of an optimist, I suppose. Honestly, love that there is so much to do in this world. I just love. Yeah, man, that's a great. That's also yeah. Again, I think school is a. I just hate it so much. Not I actually like. I love teachers. Teachers are the best. School is fucking awful. But school beats the loving of learning out of you, and also it doesn't teach you how to learn. I don't. It's so shitty that like your options are like homeschooling a kid that you care about, or putting them in a school in which they're never going to teach them how to learn. Like, I've learned more in my 4 or 3, I think a lot of people feel this way. I've learned more about anything in my 4 or 5 years than my whole time in school. Because I taught myself how to learn. I also had endless access to information because I know how to work around the internet. I know how to go out and get actual data that's informative and teaches you how to do the thing that you need to do in order to get the thing you want to do, or get the effect that you want, I should say. So if you want to know how to edit, you can learn how to edit. You don't need to learn how to edit fucking cinema tier quality shit. You just need to know enough to create the value that you're going to create for another person. Same thing can be said for a lot of stuff. But yeah. Duh. Nub says, confirm Logan hates his viewers because he could have disabled the audio to save us. What happened? No, because when I do that, it makes a long punch. So when I do that, it will make a long, like, click sound. It's much more loud and uncomfortable. It's like a static pop when I unplug this. I maybe could have turned it off. Maybe that would not make a loud pop sound. I don't want to test it. Boldy says, is it okay in terms of would you do it again or would I not? I would do it again. I'm doing it probably forever now. Yeah. It has olive oil has some good fats in it. I don't really snack a lot, so I don't really get food enough in my body, especially fats. What do you call it? It coats your stomach in because coffee is quite acidic, so apparently it can help in that. And then it has a bunch of weird heart stuff. Olive oil, virgin olive oil has a lot of health properties, but it does change the look of coffee to be more of like a creamy based coffee, even though it's black coffee. It's now like a creamy based coffee. No, this won't work because it's just gravity. It'll just always stay completely flat. So that just didn't make sense. But anyways, I will say it foams like a crazy amount, like a stupid amount. Also, I thought it would all like be on the top layer. If you have any of those whisker, like the stir whisker things, it actually blends really well in the whole thing. It's kind of crazy. Nub says it was removed, not changed. Oh, so he's not sexist? Dude, I don't want to get. There's no such thing as getting canceled. All right, unless you work at a job and they fire you, that's just a fucking punch. But I do not like. I'm not sure if this is a really hot take either. I do not personally believe in the idea of defanging the world or taking away things, basically. Like, how do I put this? A lot of people like this. They're like, there's a thing that's maybe risque. There was something that they said in old movies, anything like that. Because the reason why I hate that so much, like same thing as a parent who never lets their how do I put it? It's like a parent that basically stops their kid from ever having to encounter something that isn't necessarily right. You know what I mean? Like, to me, the idea that you encounter, like, your friend says something like a little bit too much, whatever it could be, maybe it's at the expense of someone else, anything like that. Those are moments in your life where you're going to need to know how to deal with it. You know, you're going to need to know what happens when people say this to you. Like, instead, what seems like it happens a lot nowadays is no one hears these things at all. So when someone says that to you, it's just like an attack. Like someone just fucking punched you in the face hard as fuck, and it's like they said something really respectful or whatever to you. But yeah, I don't know, man. I really dislike that whole notion. Also, I want to lose Lone's comment. GRINN, Persona 3 a Reloaded update. I'm currently 65 hours in. Currently level 60, and I'm still having a blast. Won't go into the details because they'll probably find it a little bit confusing. But yeah, I'm happy you're having a good time. Let me know what's your build, the whole premise of it. Like not what the details of it, just like what does it do. Nub says no, it's not just humbling. It was yeah. So it basically changes who he is. Yes, it was also removed and replaced with romance. But doesn't he also like? Isn't the romance option her as well? But it happens later. Like the romance happens much later. It's disgusting. Says Red says I was. So are you no longer watching it, Nub? Or are you gonna like give it 3 more episodes? Maybe they like have another version of it in the show, like another moment where he's like maybe they're like, okay, we could just do this same thing, but like in episode 8 where he eventually has the same moment where he is sexist in his except now instead of just a random girl, it's the girl he likes has to kind of like beat his ass, which maybe is even worse of like a humbling or a changing property for him. It says I wouldn't be surprised if they changed the Soka arc because today's society would not have taken it well. Probably scream white male misogynist bullshit at the show. Well, yeah. To me, I mean, I don't know. I don't agree in the notion of. Let me put it real simple. I think it is instead of trying to think of the world as not having cruelty, not having injustice, not having racist, not having horrible things. Instead of treating it like those things just don't exist or to smother those things down so that you can never hear them. They're still going to be there, but you can never hear them. Instead, why don't we prepare for them? Why don't we try to teach people what you do when you are inevitably going to have to face the cruelty of the world, of the problems in the world, instead of just pretending that they don't exist? That's what I feel like is very weird about a lot of shows nowadays. And again, to play devil's advocate for the show, which I have not watched, and I don't know if I'm going to watch eventually, maybe if I was the writer, I would be thinking, okay, we only have so much time to talk about all of these things. Maybe it's faster to get in a love story arc really quick, which we know people love. And later on, we can have like a moment that is similar to this in terms of like punching this character and making him change, but in a different kind of way. Maybe the fandom doesn't like that, but maybe it still ends up in the same way of this character has to have a moment where he is humbled, but we don't have time to do it right now. We'd rather do the love arc because that's something that people are going to grapple onto more than this character maybe being misogynistic or whatever that could alienate people. We're still going to do it. We're just going to wait till later in the series to do it. Maybe. The only reason I don't exactly subscribe to that is because the Witcher series has still remained dog shit after season 1, so with it being Netflix, I have no hope. I have no hope that is, it's going to be like, oh, we can learn from the things that people didn't like in the first season and change them. None of that will happen. Yep, they'll die on that hill, unfortunately, even though there's just a mountain of bodies already on it, but hey. Anyways. Nub says, defending is fine if the word requires no fangs. Oh, sorry, defanging is fine if the world requires no fangs. Yeah. Again, unless you can completely control people and like turn everyone enslaved and then just not have people have a shitty take. Like I come from a time when I said some stupid shit when I was younger. So whenever I hear someone say some horrible shit, I often try to give them the benefit of the doubt because I wasn't perfect, you know? I feel like we live in a world where a lot of people pretend that they were perfect. That's wrong, deeply wrong, I think. But in a world where there are some people who are pure evil, where there is no reason for I also think again, you can't prepare in a world where like everyone is kind, but you can. It's kind of like a weird quote from a person that a lot of people don't really subscribe to, and I don't really like a lot of the things he says now either. But basically the premise is to be as dangerous as you possibly can and then choose to be kind rather than to just be kind and then what happens when somebody pushes you badly, you know, or hurts someone you love and you're all you are is kind. A little edgy, but still. Nub says she romances him after losing his she romances him after he loses his fiance? That doesn't seem like that's good. Bolty says, you guys gonna play that Genshin looking game in the trailer? What the fuck, Bolty? That better be a meme. We just talked about how people be dumb, how they're talking about this is Genshin and this is Genshin stealing stuff from Genshin, this and that. To console him? That's so weird. Red says, parents should not shelter their children so aggressively in that regard. I am more granted. I am not a yeah, yeah. I also think that like I also come from a people like my parents who are very very kind, like overly kind. I think to me, I don't think I deserve as much as the stuff I get at all. I feel like it's my testament to life. I don't feel like I deserve a lot of the stuff I have. You see how many suffering and how much horrible things people have to experience and have experienced, and you just somehow were able to like skip by a lot of stuff. Not that you haven't experienced your own bullshit, but just that it could always be so much worse. This is like the other issue I have with like overall societal issues. I remember Prince in the comments of one of the videos who said you should talk more about pop culture stuff, and I'm like I don't know, Red. I don't know, Prince. I'll get probably in trouble, but that's one of the other things I feel pretty strongly about, which I just lost my train of thought about what that was. I feel strongly about, but I just forgot about it. I can't think of what it was. Yeah, maybe it'll come back to me. But I imagine if I was a father, I'd want to prepare my kids for the shit the world can be and not shelter them from it. Yeah, I don't think you also want to be the kind of parent that's overly cruel, though. Like, I know what you mean, Red. I know what you mean, but I also think you want to, like, I don't like the people who, like, they beat the fuck out of their kid because they need him to be strong, or, like, they encourage the fact that their kid's getting bullied and they egg him on constantly, like, beat the shit out of the bully. That's not good either. Yeah, like there's definitely two sides of the coin. One is awful too, which is like the guy who's like, I'm gonna prepare my kid by being worse than the world to him, which is not good in any means as well. Lone says, currently my two main personas, one is focused on physical damage and the critical rate and damage, and I have one that is focused on magic and high level of magic. Ooh, damn. So you got a physical and mage? That sounds like a blade sword, whatever it's called, sword blade. Woody says, can we talk about the bullshit that are the recap episodes for Solo? I heard my brother talking about this. Like, this is bullshit. But what do you call Bolty? Where are you at right now in the story? Could you just tell me what happened in the last episode that wasn't the recap? Yeah. Well, what part are you at? Because I think you guys are actually making like crazy headway. I thought the arc would stop once he becomes the Monarch of Death, but I don't think that's gonna be the case. I think he's probably gonna get the Monarch of Death at episode 8. It seems. Also, Kay says I like learning because I've been like slightly curious sort of kind of person since birth, I suppose. I grew up in the Batilic sort of ghetto area. Oh, I see. Which affected my creativity positively. Yeah, I can imagine that, especially being limited. Like so many people are serotonin driven because of technology and stuff like that. That if you had more time with less distractions, I should say, could improve your natural, not creativity, but imagination, I suppose. I had an interview. I had interesting character development to say the lead. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear, man. Yeah. Again, there's always one of the things that it's always a nice sentiment to hear is what do you call it? Everyone in this world has a you could call it a talent. I don't really like the word talent, but everyone has a really natural proclivity to something, and you just have to find whatever that is. Very nice thing to say, but this is the other thing that people don't tell you. Sometimes that natural proclivity, that natural talent, is actually a natural curse to you right now. One of the things that I always like the example of is Michael Phelps. One of the things he attributes like 90% of his success to being like a fucking crazy Olympic winner is essentially the fact that he had ADHD as a kid, and he wanted to get off ADHD meds so badly, and the only way that he could ever calm down his overall body and brain was by just swimming a fuck ton. So to him, what was naturally like a curse, which is ADHD, he couldn't sit still. His grades were plummeting. Eventually, it became his strength of like, because I have this natural proclivity, it pushes me to like exercise and depleting my body because it calms me down, so to speak. It de-stimuluses myself. Therefore, I'm going to naturally have an inclination towards this thing. Therefore, I can dedicate like 50 more hours where another person would only dedicate half of that. Therefore, being exceptional compared to other people, etc. But same as the reason why I brought that up is because Kay says he grew up in an instance in which something He may have grew up in an instance in which could be perceived as negative, but something from that negativity arised, something that could be good, a deep desire to learn, because maybe you hear this a lot also with people who like grew up really poor, who they have like a really deep hunger for wealth. So therefore, as much as it's bad to have grown up poor, it's also not good, but there is an effect, a talent or a trait or a skill that emerges from that experience that can be good. It can also be bad, but a bad thing can also be good, if that makes sense. Anyways, a bunch of weird stuff aside. Fluff says, to be fair, Withering Waves isn't being subliminal with the text and UI layout. Yeah, I don't know. I guess to me, I don't really... I don't know. Again, we talked about it beforehand, but like, I almost find it weirder when a game is like... If something really works, I don't know why you're going out of your way to like fuck with what works. It's kind of the same thing we're talking about with making a... What's it called? Like making a reboot to a show or whatever it is. It's very odd to me. They're like, why you're going out of your way to trying to change something that a lot of people clearly really like and it works. So why not use what works and then change what doesn't, which seems exactly like what Withering Waves does. Let's keep the Genshin stuff. Let's keep the funny mini game things. Let's even add some on top. But let's make boss fights much better. Let's add more combat depth. Let's also give people the end game of like difficulty scaling things. And yeah, you know. And that to me seems like what they're kind of aiming towards a little bit more, which is very interesting, which I prefer. But I do see it again. Like there's no doubt that something can be similar, but regardless of like, but is it not better because it took the things that worked instead of trying to reinvent all of the things despite them not needing to, you know? Red says not cruel. About it, no, just again, keeping an open conversation about the things that there are things in this world that are pretty bad, and then how again, to me it's more about how you deal with the problems that you are going to face at some point. Hopefully not, but at some point you're going to face those problems. Here's how you could go about solving them, rather than like, I'm going to throw a fucking 50 problems at you just so that eventually you maybe possibly come up with a good answer for them. That's crazy. What's good, Cloud Kid? Cloud Kid says, I cannot imagine some people in Modern Warfare 2 lobbies where everyone is screaming and insulting each other. That was just pure... yeah, because Modern Warfare lobbies were the worst of it, alright? At least I still get that. I feel like a lot of VR games are in that same space. Because it's just a lot of young kids who just parents got them VR, and those kids are going to grow up to be like fucking Superman. Like they're just going to be built like crazy. Anyways, but yeah, they're just like kids doing weird shit in VR for like 20 minutes or like fucking hours essentially. And you always hear horrible shit when you go into those lobbies. Even in videos, I see of people like go on VR chat and you're just like, this is awful. Bodhi says he went to an S plus dungeon or something like that, and he fought an eternity garden, like the one where reward is an elixir of life, but then he skedaddled with the escape jam thingy. What do you mean? What was that? Is that referring to something on the screen? Like dungeons or quests or what? Not the rewards for the guardian, but the reward for the dungeon. Is it this, or what are we talking about? What are you talking about, Bulty? Fluff says, you don't need to imagine it. There are countless documentation and videos exploring. COD, Modern Warfare. Yeah. A lot of them was like, one of the guys who I remember from back in that day was I Win to Lose. No, that's not right. What was it? It's called? It's like We're Gonna Lose, I think is what his name was. It was something like that. But dude would just go on to like lobbies and just like, man, do you guys remember like the actual like YouTube scene back in Modern Warfare times? There were some like really bad people that like were getting real famous for like shitting all over, like making a kid who basically just like really appreciates and loves his sister, making her feel shitty, or making like calling her horrible names and shit. And yeah, maybe it's not on the kid to like defend all that, you know, all that stuff. But yeah. Oh, you mean okay? So no, I see. He goes into an S rank dungeon, or something like that, and fought in an eternity garden. Sorry, like that one whose reward is an elixir of life. But okay, no, you haven't gotten to the Monarch of Death. You're getting close to the Monarch of Death. Okay, so maybe it does. Maybe it does end right when he gets the Monarch of Death job. That's awesome. Okay, good. That makes sense actually, because I think you're at episode 8 or something, right? Or is it like 7? You might be a little bit beyond. They might push a little bit beyond Monarch of Death. I'm not saying because my nose is stuffed, because I always get allergies because I'm sitting in dust. I just wiped it down. I don't think it's these lights. I think they illuminate electricity that just like fucks my sinuses. I don't know. It's something about these lights, I think. One of these days, we're just not trying to lights and see if I'm okay. Episode 7, yeah. So I think 8 and all the way up to 12. I think you'll probably get a little bit beyond Monarch of Death, which probably is good. So it'd be weird just to get the powers and then not to actually see what the powers really entail. But dude, both of you are gonna be eaten. You think oh no, it's a recap. Don't worry, okay? As soon as you get past. Well, let me ask you this, Bolty. Are you enjoying it? I imagine because you're annoyed that you got a recap, you're enjoying solo leveling, right? Because if you're enjoying solo leveling, what do you call it? You're again, and I'm not sure if you read the manga, Bolty, but this is something I thoroughly believe. The worst part of solo leveling is what you're currently watching, which is the bullshit in the beginning. Which my brother said they do a slightly better job about like talking about how the main character is getting like shit on, and how he always had to like carry the burden of being weak, and how much he's sick and tired of that, and then he kind of breaks. So yeah, Bolty says I like it, but don't. But hey, Bolty, I promise you. Well, first of all, tell me what the but is of that. But let me tell you, okay. As soon as you get past this part, there's gonna be no but anymore. There's gonna be, oh my god. Hang on, it's such a cool time. Modern Warfare Day, I pay to see younger generations put up through the ring. Yeah, just evil. Cloud says, bro, Filthy Frank, for example, could never be so big now. I don't know if I agree with that. I think he could, because a lot of like the whole cancel culture thing is just like. And even YouTube suppression thing isn't really a thing. I've never really seen it actually be a thing. Like, for instance, even people who were like shitting all over like Leafy is Here. Leafy is Here came back and still got like 300,000 views on his videos, and then some got like 2 million, and he was just shitting on Pokemon like the whole time. And he was saying like pretty fucking brutal out there shit. But so long, and this is the thing. It's a lot easier to say like Big Bad YouTube is like suppressing my videos, or like making me not child friendly, or whatever it could be. But the reality is, I think a lot of it is just your audience. Like if you really think about it that way, it makes a lot more sense of, oh, you've been doing the same thing for years, and eventually people are getting bored of the same thing, the same toxic thing, the same whatever. They're moving on. And instead of realizing, oh, I'm the one who needs to reevaluate what I create, because I've been giving them the same thing for such a long time. Why wouldn't it start to get stale? And I don't know. I deeply don't really. I've never really seen that be a reality. Or people say like, whether it's like this can't exist nowadays. I don't know. I think it can. There's nothing really stopping you besides you not getting your video monetized. You could just have support through Patreon, which a lot of people do. No, don't get me wrong. There is definitely like a line of like, but like Filthy Frank's videos aren't all gone. Like they're still up, I think. So like there is definitely a line of like, if you are doing, like, YouTube has set a parameter of like, if you are inciting violence on people, that's not allowed. I think a lot of those things we can somewhat agree with. I would prefer my overall experience being more open and closed, but still, like, I like the more Wild Westification of the internet than reserved, I guess. That's also because I don't mind seeing shit I disagree with and just being like, yep, that person's not for me. Lone says, anime updates. I started a new anime, and it's called 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Like You. I like the premise. I don't like the 100 part. That's a lot. I feel like the whole harem archetype, the reason why that works is because you can experience a lot of different personalities through like, oh, this person's like cute in this way, and this person's like tough and badass in this way. So you can see a lot of different character traits. But 100? That seems too much. That seems like you get 2 seconds on screen and then Next, please. Golly. Well, you have to tell me the premise of that one, Lone. Jesus Christ. Cloud says, yeah, and because of the of health reasons, fluff. Oh, what do you mean? Which is part of why he's long since moved to pure music? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think also, I think a lot of stuff, guys, is people selling us the best answer to the question, and it's not like there's not a bunch of answers. You know what I mean? So, like, I think also, if you were to ask Filthy Frank, do you want to dress up in a green or in a pink man latex tight weird costume type thing and and play like squeaky loud voices and where people think you're dumb just because of the character you play, or would you rather be successful musician that people adore and find their music really meaningful and connect to? Like, I'm sure he's like, yeah, it would just never work nowadays. But it's also like, yeah, it's a good answer to shut up people who want me to go back because yeah. But there's plenty of people who are still fucking egregious on there. One of the guys who I think I see who's still just out there swinging for the rafters like brutally. It's funny because he hasn't gotten canceled. Well, he probably has, but I think he just does not give a shit. His name is like Brandon something. I heard a comment, actually. It was weird. I heard a comment on one of my VR videos where a person saying, you remind me of him. And I'm like, what? I am not that unhinged. But there's a guy named Brandon something. He always plays like really out there characters, and it's very, very a lot. But again, I think the reason why his videos aren't doing really well isn't because they're not getting pushed. I think it's because he's been doing the same type of thing for such a long time. Where like even like the Filthy Frank shtick delivered to you so consistently for years and years and years would eventually start to get like a little blech. It's a lot of reasons why, like, if you look at the longest lasting creator, PewDiePie, there was something called eras. Like, there's a reason why there's the live stream era. There's a reason why there's the podcast era. There's the reason why there's the, indie game era. There's a reason why there's the horror era. There's also the reason why video games facilitate this so easily, because video games are innately segregated by, what's it called? Genre, essentially. So it's easy to have those eras. But yeah. What he says, the recap sucks and has no reason to. Yeah, it probably because they're like, we need some time. We're behind. We decided to make this look too good. Okay. Fluff says, as I said, part of why there is no solo reason. Yeah. Oh, I didn't see a solo reason. Bully says, look at this, Grin. This studio is so kind, looking out for us fans who have dementia. Well, I also think it's I think a big chunk of it again is probably where they're like, and any recap you ever see in an anime is almost always like a gasp of like life. I always see like a malnourished, overworked as hell, small Japanese man or woman sleeping under their desk. Basically just overworked like crazy, just being like, please, I'm so sorry, but please, just give me some time. I need to see my family. And you're like, and then we're just like, no, where's my anime? Where's my overpowered protagonist and my oversized, you know what? Jesus. Anyways, crazy. What's good, Derp? What's good, Derp? How are you? Ooh. Derp, how do you feel about olive oil in coffee? Thoughts? Just any thoughts. I asked this yesterday. I did not get a lot of good thoughts. I got a lot of confusion, unfortunately. Also, on Twitch, Kay says, it's kind of weird. Compared to comparison, but in Witcher, there was an injection that would either kill you or turn you into a super powerful being, aka a Witcher. So I guess that's the analogy. Yeah, I also think. Ooh, I'm so sorry, Kay. I just got kind of like my brain always jumps to the other perspective. Like Moan and Fluff know it's really bad. I used to have it much worse. But like whenever someone tells me stuff, I my brain fires off with like, well, this person's in this position, this person sees it this way, and that person is not taking taking it in because they have this lived experience and weird shit like that. So as much as I agree with the sentiment of like you go through things in your life that are difficult and therefore you maybe become stronger from them, I always like the way that it's phrased where it's you are who you are despite the things that happen to you. Not necessarily because they happen to you. Does that make sense? So like I don't know if you need to necessarily like suffer and be in pain all the time and etc. Yes. Also, Derp says I understand butter. Butter. What do you call it? Olive oil. Better. Better fats than butter. than butter. Red said olive oil is for cooking, nothing else. In coffee, ew. It's good. It's good, gang. It takes black bitter coffee and makes it better. I think it's maybe one slight tick below neutral. It's very, very, very slightly bad, whereas black coffee is just unequivocally not good. All right. Also, I lost some of the comments. I'm sorry. I lost some of the comments, the messages. That's right. Cloud says, I know he's still doing some of it, but yeah, no. See, that to me makes sense though. Like I think it makes more sense if like if you like. Let me ask you this: if you were a millionaire, you were fully taken care of, you had your friend group, you were completely wealthy, all that's fine. Would you then feel more comfortable to be silly and to be goofy because you're kind of okay? You know you have your friend group, you know you have your thing. You could be a fool and not feel like you're going to be ostracized by society or your environment or something like that. So yes, I feel like it makes more sense for people to be out there when they're very stable, I guess, or secure. Drip says, I'm sorry, did you just say fucking olive oil? I did just say fucking olive oil. Derp. Lone says, and the MC is like, what, how, and God, I love, made, mistake, accident. Oh, no, okay, I want to see this. I asked Lone about what this anime that he's watching. Let's see. After being rejected 100 times straight, he visits a shrine. This god of love visits him and tells him he'll meet his soulmate soon, but not just one, but 100 of them. That's actually that's a very wholesome. Well, I think 100 is way too much, but I think it's a thing to be like you can have multiple people you could love. That's very neat. So I guess is his burden just like the option of choice, like which one is the right one for me? Have you ever done the butter and coffee Derp? Do you like it or is it too much? I feel like I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because I'm a black coffee drinker that hates it, but I can't be bothered to fucking do the milk and do all this shit, and I just want to take my coffee and leave and then get my boost and done. You know, I'm very food lazy. You know what I mean? As long as it's okay, I'm not like hurting my body. I'm good. Lone says the MC is like, what, how, and God made a mistake and accidentally made it to where he'll have 100 soulmates and not just one. What is the formula of the anime, Lone? Is it like? Is it just like a barrage, or do they actually do the thing that me and you both seemingly enjoy, which is like, here's a new character, here's how they're fun and different, here's a new character, here's how they're fun and different, instead of it just being like, here's a new character, here's a new character, here's a new character. You're like, ah, jeez. Both these have it. Dirk says, to be fair, my coffee tycoon game has mayo as an ingredient. What? Also, olive oil in coffee, ladies and gentlemen, is something that apparently that Starbucks did a year and a half ago. So, like, let's calm down, okay? Red says, almond milk is all I need in my coffee, thanks. You're gonna come at me, because I like olive oil in my coffee, and you're out here, one of these bougie Californians, okay, who have their, what's it called? Almond milk, there we go. Almond milk. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh my god, thank you so much for the sub. Also, okay, appreciate the sub over at Twitch. I gotta change that stupid Halloween emote. Anyways, it's a stupid thing about it. Thank you so much for the support, my friend. Appreciate you. Very sweet. Okay, it says, yeah, for sure, I agree with your point. That Witcher comparison is just something that, but yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, I get it. Again, one of my biggest issues, Kay, is I I really like how do I put it? I really love talking to people. I really like hearing people. Like I could be a therapist basically. I at least in the aspect of like me really enjoy being around people and like hearing them. I'm very much introverted, but like when it comes to talking to human beings, love human beings, love talking to people. But I also have my like one of the habits I got into when I was younger is whenever I see anything, whether it's a video, whether it's a meme, what I always do is I go to the comments of that thing I just laughed at. Always, even if I don't laugh at it, I typically go check the comments. So I have this weird brain where like when I look at something, I immediately hear 50 different types of people talk about it and their perception of it, essentially. So it's good, but it's also bad in the sense that when I'm talking to someone, I may even agree with you. Like it's a really good sentiment, it's a really good analogy of The Witcher, and you can either take this thing and you become better. I agree with that sentiment, but in my head I'm like, but there's an area in which we're not talking about, which is also important. Let me say that because I think that could help patch this overall thought that we're having and make it a stronger overall thing, overall thought or whatever, exploration. But a lot of times people think I'm going against them. Like I'm talking to you about this thing, and that sometimes I say this maybe contrary opinion or perspective, just because I want to explore it and I want to understand what do we do with that. And then sometimes people take it as like, oh no, I'm against you, and I oftentimes have to slow down and be like, no, we're on the same side. This is just something I thought of, and forgive me because I don't make a good point to explain that. But we're on the same side with this whole analogy as well. Derp says, if you make my coffee healthy, I'ma commit war crime. What? Why? I mean, I guess butter is a solid example of like, yeah, it's healthy. Although apparently butter can be okay if you like it. I don't know, man. That's one of the things that's the most frustrating thing on the planet. Like I'm big into self-improvement, fitness stuff, and health sector, all that stuff. But that's one thing that I find is the most frustrating. But it's also the one that to me like that makes the most sense in some ways. But like the whole food sector seems to constantly be changing. Like the food pyramid is a total bullshit thing. You should totally not follow it. Some people are saying that you should eat meat only. Some people say you should eat vegetarian stuff only. Some people say you should have moderation and balance. Other people say that processed food is terrible for you. And then the one thing that really drives me fucking nuts is the organic argument, where like fucking they're like, I don't want to eat synthetic food. Meanwhile, I'll take synthetic medicine and synthetic everything. Just because something is organic, and it's like, what the fuck makes it organic? It's just covered in fucking pesticides. It's dumb. I hate it so much. Anyways, that's dumb. But what is it called? The one thing that always made more sense to me is that basically if some people can be lactose intolerant, then surely there's other things that could also be. Given your ancestral background, you could have some things that you have a really natural proclivity towards. And then another person could have not a good proclivity towards that. Like I find I love like fish, like salmon. I do great with that. I could eat that constantly. I'm not sure if I'd have mercury poisoning, probably, but yeah. Lone says, but the twist is he can't just choose one, but he does. The other 99 will die. So now this is just straight fucking lunacy alone. So he can't choose one because the other 99 will die. So the main character doesn't want that anymore. Oh, what a savior. What a saint. So he has to be with all of them in order to live. Dude, anime is the greatest. Can we just agree that anime and the delusion of this is just... There's nothing better in this world than just people being like, you know what? Fuck you. Okay? I'm going to tell my story in the way that I want, and you go right in hell, okay? Oh, so he dates them all. Yeah, figured as much. Derp says, I brew my coffee with hot cocoa. You mean hot chocolate? There's a lot of benefits to hot chocolate. That makes sense. Hot chocolate. I used to drink hot chocolate, but then we had this weird scare. Like apparently there's a ton of like lead in our fucking cocoa or something, and it's just like, what the fuck. But yeah, tea with some honey is dope. Tea. Well, it depends what kind of tea it is. I feel like honey in general is also just amazing. Like I feel like if you guys ever feel like kind of shitty and you're not a diabetic, okay, a spoonful of honey will just be the best thing. You know what I mean? It makes you always feel balanced out. There's some weird statistics around honey. I'm not sure you guys ever looked at that shit. Odd. One of the statistics is like that on average beekeepers live far fucking longer than other human beings, which is fucking weird. I don't know if it's like maybe they attribute it to like the buzzing or vibration that they constantly are around. I don't know. That feels weird shit. That's some like you're becoming a druid nonsense. You know? Yeah. But honey is dope. Although, dude, I seen a video on hornets. I think it's hornet. Hornets are terrifying. Hornets like I seen a video where there's a type of hornet that basically like goes to a caterpillar, injects it with some sort of mind virus, then lays eggs in its body, and then the eggs kind of like explode out of the fucking worm, the caterpillar, and then the caterpillar somehow I think repairs itself, like keeps itself from bleeding out, and then I think it like its brain thinks that these are its kids, even though they just fucking exploded out of them like a virus. And then he ends up like I think it's like he takes care of them to the point in which he died. It's fucking man. Bugs are just horrifying. Horrifying is all hell. People think the ocean is terrifying. Fucking bugs, dude. If it's that's the terrifying thing. People talk about like oh fish. Imagine going to Mars and then like just a fuck ton of massive insects just creeping out. That's actually a fucking horrible manga apparently. It's like a horrible brutal manga where it's like a bunch of fucking jacked caterpillar dudes were just like ripping people apart. Awful. Anyways, Lone says the format is here. A new character. Okay, so this is the format. Okay, so for this anime that Lone's talking about, this is how they have fun and different now. The first season just focuses on 5. Oh, okay, I see. 5. There is also a manga, so I'm going to have to look at and see how far the manga is. Yeah, well, so that makes some sense. Okay, so it's basically like we just want to have a long as fuck series. The main character better be the most charming individual you've ever seen. Because, yes, if he's like the main common denominator in that shit, he better be great. Also, Derp, are you excited for Withering Waves? And I imagine your response is, what? Okay. Lone says, the first 2 girls he meets are just wonderful. Like, they are totally opposite, but they're friends, and the show is just fun. I laugh out loud. Oh, cool. So that's good. It seems like it's a comedy. So it's kind of like, yeah, we just came up with like a fun comedic prompt that we can just kind of play off of forever. That makes sense. Let me see. Okay. Derp says, "Oh my God, they have those wasps where we live. At least the ones that do it to spiders." I don't know. Yeah, I see both these comments before I read that one, which is I want to unread a comment. Yeah, I can't. It's already too much. I've already coped with the one, so it's not as bad. But thinking about it with a spider now is just equally fucking horrible. Oh God, I hate it so much. It's just the worst. Derp says we also have roaches 2 inches long. Ooh, yum yum yum. And are territorial AF and will fight you. I think it's Florida, is a cursed place. Okay. Let me tell you, people constantly get on Canada's ass for being too cold and yada yada yada. Like, guess what? Guess what? All right, Canada's cold, purges those fuckers. Okay? Yeah! It's like the Grim Reaper cometh just every couple, once a year, just to be like, guess what, bitch? You're dying. All you insects. Same thing with rodents and shit. They're kind of hiding in your floorboards sometimes, but you know, they usually fuck off somewhere. Lone says, the guy who is this great human being, he's smart. Oh, I see. He's smart, athletic, thoughtful. However, he is always rejected for being, when asking someone out, weird. That's a weird vibe. You're telling me he's the smartest, kindest, athletic, kind, thoughtful person, but he's just like, nope. I don't know. I don't really like the trope in shows where it's like the douchebag got Mr. Man. Yeah. Is like that's the thing. You know what I mean? Derp says I used to live by Canada. I do not miss the geese. The geese. Let me tell you. Hey guys. Let me tell you. All right. People always talk about the geese. All right, and how geese are just beings of violence. All right. Let me tell you. Geese do not care so long as you you just do not, you pretend they don't exist. Basically, you just walk straight. Don't get near them. You don't even, you want the geese to feel like they're invisible, like they've somehow unlocked camouflage, and then you just do not see them. You just walk away. Don't even look at them. They do not exist. Then they're fine. Okay. Every now and again, you'll get stupid dumb tourists who feed geese at parks. Okay, we have a lot of parks. If you feed geese at parks, then these fucking geese come at you. Okay, for food. But then you don't have bread because you're not an asshole who's feeding wildlife at a fucking park. Okay. Because they're the problem. They'll just come up to people like bears. You don't feed fucking bears because bears get really comfortable with you, and when they're hungry and you don't give them food, they do what the geese do, which is charge you, okay? But they're a fucking bear. And geese have the same bear energy, okay? Anyways, those people are awful. And in that case, guess what? You boot that fucking geese right in its chest like a fucking softball, and you hear a good flop, okay? And they're done, all right? They're not like, let's come at me again. They're like, oh, I might have just broken a rib, all right? And you're like, listen, there's 1,000 of you. Get away from me. It's like a pigeon in New York City, all right? They'll be okay, okay? You kick the shit out of the geese, okay? And they're gonna try to do this weird flappy thing, and then you just fucking right at their dumb white body. In fact, actually, where we live, we have like weird blacky white ones. But anyways, I'm pro kicking birds, okay? Okay? If any bird is confident enough to come at you when they're not flying, you kick the fuck out of that bird, and you teach it that the air is the only safe space, okay? Lone says, yeah, I found it unusual. It's what caught my yeah, no, well, you've always been really good about finding those really like diamonds and the rest. Does it have an English dub, or is it only sub? Because that's the one thing that Lone sometimes gets me on. He's like, tells me a really cool premise for anime, and then I'm like, oh god, I can't watch it because it's fucking subbed and it'll never get dubbed in my whole lifetime. Although I feel like we're kind of getting beyond that era. I think we're no longer in the era of like shows not getting dubbed. I hope. Boldy says, so geese equal bear, noted. For how much you'll encounter them, yes. Most bears are like, get away from me. Unless you're deep in the bush, you're not going to see a bear usually. You'll see a geese fucking all constantly, especially in parks. Anything where the water, you'll see a geese. Yeah, bears are significantly more like, if you see a bear, you fucked up. You're in a place that you shouldn't be. Yeah. With like a few exceptions, like sometimes bears are starving, and like even then, I think bears, like, there might be like one instance where like some like loggers cut down some shit and then they're here. More often than not, they'll only be there for 2 seconds and they'll leave and they'll hide away. Mostly because Canada's like game wardens are fucking crazy, because like they'll just trank them and fucking like throw them in the middle of the fucking forest, and they're like, try me again, and I'll chuck you in a new place that you don't know. Derp says, I swear I saw dinosaurs here. What? I swear there were dinosaurs here. We have a 5-foot tail bird. What? A 5-foot tall bird. I lose my mind when I first saw it. What do you call it? Yeah, you mean like an ostrich? Is that what you mean? I learned the other day that ostriches are apparently like dumber than nails. Like they're just nutting up there. Yeah, like their overall brain and capacity, like their body size massively outweighs their brain. I'm like, oh no. Also, it was one of the weird, I don't know, man. It's one of the things I always talk about, like where I look at a meme and then like I go to the comments. You just get an abundance of like cursed information if you have the habit of doing that. One of the things I heard is an ostrich is one of the few animals that will like look for companionship, so to speak, outside of their species. So weird. Lone says, I can only imagine an army of geese rushing you. Oh, dude, I have complete confidence. I have complete confidence. You could just eviscerate geese. Okay, I'm telling you, you could just charge and just start fucking throwing hand. You just take out 15 geese. All right, I have no capacity where I think a bunch of geese could actually take you out. It would have to be. It'd have to be like let's say 3,000, and their just sheer weight suffocates you. All right, I definitely feel like you could just start, because again, I've never seen them really like. I feel like if I ran at them, I don't know if they'd ever be able to like clip you. Because also, I think you just cover your body, cover your mind, your head, and you could just run through them. They're bones, but their birds have fucking like no bones. Birds have like the thinnest bones possible. You would look like a monster, because my brain is now strategically trying to think about how I'm going to snap. I'm going to be running at a geese. He's going to be doing one of these at me. I'm going to grab his arm, snap his little bone, and then run around. And yeah, we're a monster. Also, Kay says, I don't use Twitch much. Not gonna lie, but you deserve the sub. Thanks so much. I appreciate that, Kay. It's not necessary, but I appreciate you so much for being so generous. But yes, definitely make sure to buy yourself something sweet before you do anything for me. But thank you. Derp says we also have peacocks. Oh yeah, peacocks are awesome though. I feel like a peacock is a very chill bird. Am I correct, Derp, in my assumption that out of all the birds you could ever have, a raven would be your bird of choice? We don't need to think. You don't need to think more about it, or about me asking or profiling you in this way. Lone says yes. Yes. It is fully dubbed and currently on episode 4. Oh wow! So it's just coming out. Oh, I thought it was like out fully complete. I thought you said season 1. So I see. So I found a lot of interesting anime this time around. I found a manga again. For those of you guys don't know, I'm in my manhwa era, both at this point. Mostly because YouTube just constantly keeps giving me manga. I want manhwa, but it keeps giving me like black and white manga. Anyways, I found one that I thought was really neat. It's basically like a guy gets isekai, reincarnated. It's actually pretty hilarious because he spends his whole life working at like a shitty, what's called a black company, like a company that like overworks its employees essentially, and like doesn't pay for overtime and things like that. So he works his whole life in the shitty company only to then be able to start his own company and his own business. So he saves a bunch of money. He's finally able to do that. He does that. But then as soon as he's about to open his business, he gets teleported to the king's feet, essentially, and the king's like, "You're our hero." And he's like, "Cool." Not cool, actually. I was just about to start my dream that I worked for like years. And then he's like, "Well, what kind of skill do you have?" And then he has a skill, cultivation, which is basically like when you put something in the ground, it will grow. Awesome. It will grow like double the rate, essentially. So the nobles around him are like, "Kill this kid. He's a piece of shit." And the guy's like, "Fuck all of you. You just trapped me here." So then the king's like, "Wait, we have a food shortage. I'll just give you some. You just do that. Can you just save our country from its food apocalypse?" So he does. Immediately fixes the food shortage. He plants a bunch of shit in the ground. Boom, it goes up. Great. He gets shit-faced one night. He's like stumbling into his garden, and then he has a stupid idea of like, "I'm gonna fucking make a tree that is just alcohol." So then he buries a beer glass, falls asleep, wakes up. He now has a tree full of high-quality a scotch or whatever he was drinking. So he's like, wait. And that's where it gets fun. So you can guess, one of the first thing he does, he takes a handful of gold, puts it in the ground, waits a couple days. He now has a fucking money tree. He now has a tree that just constantly gives him gold coins. Awesome. He then gets like a really good mithril tier sword. He buries it. He plants it. And then a couple days later, it sprouts like 3 mithril swords, essentially. So he's like, "This is my business." So he basically, and then this is where they kind of get fun. He needs like protection because all he has is like this weird ability to like infinitely produce things through his like gardening ability, essentially. So then he ends up finding this one like pint-sized girl who has this issue. They call her like the dragon. I think it's called weapon destroyer is what they call her. But basically, she has like a skill that gives her extreme strength, but she always like hits so hard that her weapon snaps, essentially. And the main character is basically like, "Oh, this is like the perfect synergy. I can just keep giving you mithril tier items, and you can just keep fully sending it, and I'll just keep giving you swords." And that's like been the premise of the show. But the premise isn't like I've been isekai'd, and this is how I become the strongest hero. It's like, I want to start a business, okay? I'm going to hire this person because it makes sense. I'm going to hire this person to make sense. My business is going to be a white company. Very weird Japanese culture, black and white. They don't really understand. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, a white company basically means a company that does not take advantage of its employees. I know. Weird. Definitely not in the West. Anyways, point being, yeah, he ends up setting up things and making a lot of stuff, and he ends up like getting there's like a weird. It's all the reason why I like stuff like that is because it constantly introduces things where you're like, oh, and that's gonna be okay. So like he finds this witch that like excavates like ancestral tombs essentially, where there used to be like an advanced technology or civilization. So then he goes and grabs. She grabs all the items, but the items have an energy cap. So she's like, well, shit, I can only use this cool item once, and then it's done. But I'm trying to learn how to like recharge them. And then the guy's just like, could you just give them to me? Fully charged, just give them to me. So then she just gives them to him, and then he starts cultivating the fucking thing, basically. And I was like, ooh, that's cool. So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of like, ooh, eh. Derp said we have peacocks and vultures. Yes, it has. It was a sand. Ooh, it was a sand crane? Jeez, for a 6-foot bird, is a sand crane? Jesus, I wonder what that looks like. I might have to look that up. Neat. Whenever I think of big bird, I think of ostrich. I don't know why. I think an ostrich is about 6 to 7 foot. No, maybe 6 foot. I don't know. I feel like the guy who I watch who has an ostrich, it can tower above him, but it is just like a thin ass neck. So it's like, yeah, kind of. It's like saying like I'm taller than you with your hand on in the air. Like, yeah, but like this bit is lies, you know. Lone says no, Grin. It is full. Oh, it is fully out, but there's only 4 episodes dubbed. Gotcha. So it's one of those slow dubbing burns. Feels bad. Derp says peacocks are really fucking loud, but I am a huge fan of the crane. I don't think I've ever really seen a lot of cranes. Whenever I think of a crane, I think of like Kung Fu Panda. I'm not sure that's cringe, but like I just see that. And I think if it's really tall with thin ass legs, but I don't think it's as tall as I think it is. You know. Also, dude, I can't even believe we're getting another Kung Fu Panda. It's one of the weird like guilty pleasures I have, even though I think each Kung Fu Panda movie got worse. Does that make sense? But I do still find them to be like a fun, goofy, fun time. You know, they're like it's a guilty pleasure, etc. Volti says, I also have another anime suggested to watch or read. Oh, Volti, what do you call it? Volti, you late with that one. I suggested to Grin, and he's watched. All right. Well, no, I will talk about this, Volti. Okay, Volti. I watched the first couple episodes, and I fully respect that it might be on me. I might have been on a time where I'm like, I'm just not into this type of thing, because to me, I still think my criticism feel a little weird. Does it get better? What I'm asking is, my main issue with the show is that I feel like it's constantly cannibalizing itself in a weird way. So like I watched the first couple episodes, and the whole premise is like this really overpowered guy who's strong as hell in a magic world. So everything he does, he basically uses brute strength to overcome magic. People are like, oh, I can do a fireball, and then he'll just basically take his like wand and then just do this and create like a typhoon of fire, because he's literally just fucking jacked. Like he's unparalleled. He's like One Punch Man, etc. But the issue I have with the show is that, like, one, it's just things that to me are weird choices. Like, the main guy is the most like non-expressive, empty human being possible. Now I think that's because the people around him are supposed to be where like all of the emotion is. So like if he was also like, oh my god, it'd be just so much where you're like, this is too much. But I still think it's weird for him not to have any emotion, like him just to seem super fucking dead, like hollow. I don't love that. I'd rather my main character have some like soul, I guess, because he feels very much like hollow. Like, you know, even One Punch Man has moments of like, oh, I see how he's a person. And maybe just in the 2-3 episodes that they have watched, they don't do that yet. Maybe eventually they kind of develop this character in a fun way. But at least right now I feel like, come on, man, you leave me out hanging. But the other thing I don't like is that I feel like One Punch Man does a really cool job about making it so there's stakes to things. So like I remember like I was watching a cool battle fight in the first couple episodes. I'm like, this is awesome. He's like fucking popping off. He's like throwing around fire. It's great. Or it's not throwing around fire. Sorry. He's like beating the shit out of people. It's great. But then there's like a moment where like the main dude is like casting a bunch of spells and he's sitting on a desk or sitting on a chair and just like hanging out. So like there's clearly no stakes and he doesn't care, so that makes me kind of not want to care. And because he's not like, if he was like Konosuba, like Kazuma, I mean, in Konosuba, if he was like laughing at him or doing some shit, being a kind of a bastard about it, at least that's something I can grab onto, you know? Same the way as like One Punch Man, it's very obvious that One Punch Man knows like this ain't shit, you know what I mean? Whereas in this one show, I don't know, I feel like I gotta watch more of it, but I don't know if I like it, and it sucks because I love the premise so much. I just think the two things that I would change about it that would make me love it is if the main guy had emotions and like was a character, was a person that I could like root for and like feel like I can understand, kind of like Black Clover, like what's his name? Asta is someone who you can understand and kind of understand who he is as a person. And then also, I'd like comedy. I love comedy. I love Konosuba. But I feel like the moments where they use comedy are too together. Like, if it feels like no combat engagement, it means anything because there's always a goofy, fun comedy spin on it. So it just makes everything feel meaningless. Like, nothing matters here, you know? Even in One Punch Man, they have moments where, like, clearly, it's like almost like a debate of, like, how close will Genos get to dying, essentially, before One Punch Man comes in and says, fucking stop, you know, or how badly will the environment get destroyed, which we'll be seeing for episodes to come. So there's definitely still like, there's like a perceived cost to it, even if the main character is kind of fucking out of it, because he just doesn't care, because he doesn't need to, you know? But I don't know. I don't know if that gets better, if we start to understand who he is as a character more, in the future, maybe if they kind of start toning down like the weird comedy elements so that these like battles can actually feel like they're battles and not just like meaningless nonsense of like, I'm gonna cast a 7-tier spell and then he just like smacks it away like whatever. Not that it's not that I just like that. That's a bad example. It'd be like him sitting down eating like chips as the person's firing a cannonball at him. It's just like, well, this means nothing, you know. And when you see that once, it's kind of can be cute. Maybe it's cuter like when it starts off in that way of like him trying harding, or like we see him weak or something, and then eventually he like at the episode 7 he's that fucking overpowered where he's like, you're nothing to me. That could be something. It feels like it's earned. But outside of that, Lone says, Grin, did you see the trailer for Kung Fu Panda 4? I did. I don't know, man. Again, I always look back at those movies fondly, especially, I'm not sure if you guys have seen them, but they're like these fun, they're kind of like too much, but they're like these weird, like, they go through like the philosophy of TV shows, and they make them better, like, essentially. So, like, if there's I've seen them do it with, like what we were just talking about, Avatar, The Last Airbender, there's moments where, like, they use the life lessons of these characters and they like kind of streamline their journey into like maybe like 10 minutes, 5 minutes. They put beautiful music in the background. They like use key moments in the show and have them like foreshadow scenes that came and that really like nail this like feeling and this answer that they were trying to give you. It's really beautiful. But then there are also other ones where they do it with like Kung Fu Panda and stuff like that, which is neat. Which like they talk about like again, it's kind of like the I've seen videos like this where it's almost like, what is the overall lesson in the story, and let me perfectly deliver that to you. So I've seen those a little bit recently, but I look back on Kung Fu Panda and those movies in a fondly way. It's fun to me. Also like Kung Fu and stuff like that. Who doesn't like Kung Fu fighting movies? But I also feel like, I don't know, the new one seemed like a lot, you know, like, whereas, like, I think there's, like, a shapeshifter, essentially, and he, like, tries to subsume Poe's role, and my main goal, my main hope, and I'm not sure if, I could see them doing 5 Kung Fu Panda movies and then done, but my only thing I want at this point in the series is it sounds weird, it's gonna sound very strange, I want Poe, Kung Fu Panda Poe, and Tigress to have a family, and that's what I want. I want the roll credits. I don't want any more than that. I just want that. I want that. I want that to be done. I want that. Boom. None of this bullshit of friendship. Fuck off. None of that. I want actual boom. It's weird. It's a lot. It's like yep. But weird things have happened in that show. Have you seen the kid, like the parents of certain creatures? Jesus. Anyways. Bodhi says nice. The second OP slaps though. The from Mishala, is that right? Mishala. Lone says it is fully out and fully dubbed. All 12 episodes can be watched in dub. Ooh, okay. Lone says, alright, that. Ooh, what's good, Caspa? Caspa says, is that right? That Caspu? I'm gonna call it Caspa. Caspa says, I live in Finland, but for some freaking reason, we have ring-necked peasants. Jesus. Walking around the neighborhood where I live. They are like some Asian bird, extremely loud. I love. Oh, Casper, I love how you just came in here and we're like, I'm finished, and let me tell you, we got some shit. These fucking birds. Feels like someone coming into the room, like you're a friend you haven't talked to in a while, and just being like, listen, man. Like, hello, also, hi. But yeah, man, what do you call it? Birds are brutal. Also, what do you call it? For whatever reason, we have like kind of like a bird sanctuary where we're at right now. I want to give my position away. Besides Canada, you know that, Alberta specifically, but we have like, especially in summers, we have like a bunch of robins, blue jays, like really tiny birds that are just kind of like constantly out and about. But yeah, we have like a weird bird sanctuary here. It's odd, like very odd. But yeah. But none of the ones that are too loud. Again, there are people who have like loud ass birds, and it's just like shut the fuck. Especially if you live in like a lot of like cul-de-sacs, especially in Canada, have like, I think in America it's the same thing, where you have like a pond in the middle of this massive structure of houses, which is cool. In Canada, you can like skate on the pond, kind of neat. But yeah, goddamn, is it just too much sometimes? Where like you'll be sitting there sleeping and you have a geese or some shit just hawking like crazy, and you're like, shut the fuck up! It's 2 a.m. or not 2 a.m. It's like 8 a.m. Maybe you should be waking up at that point. But the point is, it's a weekend. Bodhi says, I would say the issue you have with Misha gets better in season 2, but it's still probably not changing much. Gotcha. I might just have to accept it. I might just have to be like, that is what it is. Because I feel like I could enjoy it. That's the thing that bothers me. It's like I feel like there's a part of me that's like, I could focus on the negatives, but if I wanted to, I could kind of like sink in to this. You know, I could get better at it. I could like make it, could be more fun, I guess. Red says, yeah, Poe and Tigress would be a great send-off for the... Yeah, right? I just don't know. I feel like it would be weird to end it on 4, although I don't know if we should get a 5th. I feel the same way with the 3rd movie. But maybe the 4th movie, like, boom. But I feel like they keep recycling, like, Poe becoming stronger, and he's basically a god at this point. But then do weird shit where, like, he's able to defeat, like, an unparalleled calamity in the 1st movie, where he like defeats a person that like has defeated all of the strongest people ever. He's like defeated a prison of hundreds and hundreds of people, and Poe's able to easily beat him. But then like in the second movie, he can't fight like against a couple enemies wearing like who have fireworks or some shit, and you're like, like you can't even fight like 2 of them. It's weird. It's like a super weird scaling thing. And then in the 3rd movie, they're like, fuck it, let's nerf him again so that he can become enlightened. And I just feel like that's what I don't like about the movies. It feels very like, can we just stick with like, he's good and then he's getting better? Not like it feels like, how come, it's like I can defeat 1,000 bears, but heaven forbid I try to defeat like a 200 chickens. You know what I mean? Or something, I don't know. Let's say it's like I can defeat 100 bears. Why couldn't I defeat 200 chickens? You know what I mean? But then that's too much. You're like, what the fuck is going on? Casper says, one morning I opened the front door and a huge one took flight from the bush right next to me. Almost suffered a stroke. God, shit. Yeah, man, what do you call it? You know what? I want to ask you guys this. Let me give you 3 options. You can either have... I'm going to give you 3 options. You have to genuinely consider which one you would accept, all right? You have to pick one. A raven, this is to be a pet, okay? A raven, I think it's a possum? Whatever that white ferret-looking thing is. Like a tinier... It's not a ferret, but it's like a white, tinier thing. It's like, it looks like a shrunken ferret. A weasel, maybe. It's a white weasel. I don't know. Raven, weasel, or whatever it's ferret weasel, either one, or I'm trying to think of another odd bird or odd animal that's kind of like neat, but maybe not worth the squeeze. I can't think of another one. I'm trying to think of one that actually would. I thought penguin, but that's just who the fuck wants a penguin? That's very strange. Fox. There we go. Fox. That's people gonna pick fox though. That's too cool to pick. Never mind. Fox is not on the table. Weasel, raven, snake. There we go. Snake. Snake is probably gonna be pretty high up there too. But those are the three options you could pick. Which one would you? You have to pick one. Which one would you pick? Boldy says Raven, no question. Raven is a strong fucking answer too, dude. I know. Raven's apparently smart as shit though, and they live a long time, so you better be ready to. It's like a marriage at this point. What's a stot? What's that? Stot? Is that what I'm thinking about? With the little tiny, like it's a white weasel. Almost looks like. I see a lot of people have them like in their shirt, like they just crawl around them and shit. That's the weasel I'm thinking of. Now, a ferret is a little bit too chunky that I'm thinking of. Booty says they're intelligent and can learn stuff if top. Yeah. I just worry about the ravens loud. I don't think so. I think ravens are actually. I think crows are probably more loud than ravens. But I think also a raven just sounds good. You know what I mean? It's not like ha, like some sort of weird like Jesus Christ. It's kind of like this powerful. You know, I don't feel like it's bad. Also, I don't think they do it a lot. Yeah, but also I think it probably depends on. That sounds weird, but like the excitement or arousal of the animals. Because I feel like birds constantly make noise only when they're like fucking juiced about something. I will say there is one type of bird. I don't know what it is. It's a parrot or a parrot. Yeah, I think it's like a type of parrot. But there's a type of bird that like gets fucking super juiced up and hyped, like extremely excited when it feels the excitement of its thing, like it has like slicked back hair, but then its whole fucking hair comes forward, and it's just like it starts smashing its head forward, and it looks like such a fun animal to have just to get hyped with because it just gets so fucking like when it's just over 9,000 happy. I never really got the snake thing, you know what I mean? Like, as much as I said that was an option I think people could like, snake thing to me, I feel like it would be very... I feel like it'd be hard to feel like that thing loves you. I feel like a raven could love you, like a dog could, you know what I mean? I feel like a possum thing could kind of love you, I think. Like, I feel like there could be that there. I definitely think birds could do that. I think birds are so smart that they could develop like a really deep love for you. Same thing with dogs. I'm not sure if other animals necessarily can. I don't know why. Whenever I think of like turtles and like fish, I don't know if that really. Maybe octopus. Maybe octopus could develop like a genuine connection with you. But a lot of those animals, I don't know if you really. Maybe it's just my brain. It's like there's a human element that doesn't really. Yeah. Fluff says I'd go weasel. Weasel to me is that's what I wanted to bring up. A weasel to me, I think would be a cool pet, but I feel like it's one of those things that the more you look into, you'd be like, oh, this is so much. This is so much to learn. And I don't know if I have the like capacity to pick up like shit underneath my mask or something wherever he wants to go. You know, I also don't know if he'd like push over shit. Where I don't know if a cat. What is better in terms of its overall vibe? In terms of it, like how it is to teach a cat or a weasel? I don't know. Stoats are small white cousins of weasels. Maybe that's something of that. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. We have one in our thing. It's like a little tiny thin guy, but it was really hilarious. We have a bunch of bricks laid out in a square box essentially outside, which we're like maybe we'll use. Anyway, but there was a little weasel that was poking his head out, being like, and went back in, and I was like, oh, it's so cute. It's so cute. But I grew up watching Kim motherfucking Possible, okay? And goddamn Rufus was one of the coolest beings ever. And then you see it, and you're like, fuck, I'm okay, I'm good. I don't want that. It's a naked ferret thing. No, no. But a weasel. I see some people who like it. I'm not sure though. I feel like we just see the best of weasels. You know, I mean, we see the best of ferrets as well. where people are like, they're just walking around doing their normal daily life, and then this thing will just shoot out of their neck, and they'll just be like, what's good? And then it'll just go back into your clothing. I don't know if I like that also. Do you not just feel like little tiny little nail paws scratching up your body as it just fucking climbs you like you're a tree? It's very weird. You own a turtle? He just hits it. I was about to say, I feel like turtles would be very much like, it'd be hard to read them. Like, maybe that's also part of it. Maybe, like, human inclination is not to, like, lizard-like animals, or even sometimes fish. There's, like, kind of just, like, I don't know how to connect with you. I don't know how to talk to you. I don't know really how to pick up on what your body language is, even, you know. To where, like, I just don't know how to really, like, grapple in that way. So, who knows? Yeah, subjectively, ravens sound like the most cool one. Yeah, I'm about to say the raven. I think it's either raven for people who really want a challenge. Like I feel like you couldn't have a raven and be a shitty owner. You have to be one of the fucking like, you have to get so into it that you're on Twitter calling yourself a raven dad or something crazy. You know what I mean? Also, but yeah, you'd have to get super into it, I think, just because birds, I feel like they're again so intelligent that they'd be able to. They wouldn't put up with your bullshit. They'd be like, you're just terrible. You know when a dog looks at you like, I don't know what's going on at all, and as long as you feed me and give me hugs and let me go outside and piss every now and again, I think you're great. I think you'd be getting side eye from a raven like, haven't left the house in 3 days, hey? Not once. Kind of cringe. Kind of you're gross, and I'd just be sitting there like, oh. Whereas a weasel would be like, hey, why are you leaving? What's the point? Okay. Lone says, all right, so my gamepad is after a stream, or your game plan is after stream. I'm going to wrap up my expedition on Persona 3, and I'm currently on floor 146, golly. After that, I reach the next border. I'm going to get on Hell Dead. Yeah, I can't wait to see what you think about it, Lone. I actually wish you would have played a little bit so I could ask you about some stuff, because I have to edit this video for Mind Palace of Madness. It's a video covering an amazing avatar, avatars, I should say. But I think I also want to kind of try to push through this book I'm reading, which I really love. I talked to you guys about it beforehand, but it's With Winning in Mind by Lenny Basim. It's one of the few books I've memorized the actual name and guy who wrote it. Usually I just say, there's this cool book I'm reading, it's about whatever, I just can't remember names. But I want to finish reading that one, like really get it, like try to get the knowledge into my head. It's a nice self-help improvement book. And yes, so I want to try to do both of those, but I also want to just try to dive into Hell Divers and try to get my sense of it, because it felt awesome playing it yesterday. Like, it was a great time. I can't wait to play next stream. But at the same time, I do feel like it feels weird when you're like, I don't know why we're going to whatever place, but it's also helpful in a weird way, because you are kind of like, okay, we're going over here, we're doing this, that's what that looks like. Even though I don't really know what we're doing, it's good to have like a gauge so that when you watch a guide that says these are the things that you should focus on, it explains, like, or you know what that is, you know, you already get the general idea. It's like you have the ending but not the beginning, so as soon as you get the beginning, you're like, oh, that's what all that was. Fluff says, personally, I'd want what's a sable? What's a sable? What's that? Which are like these little bear weasels. Where's my phone? I want to look this up. Oh, what is it? A sable. Hilarious name. Oh no. Guys, give me a sec. Oh god. I did not see a message hit my phone. I might just be better off waiting until we're done. Shit. I'll have to check that in a minute. Anyways, let me look this up, ladies and gentlemen. Then we'll start winding down. This was the fastest stream of my life, by the way. I did not. This felt like 10 minutes. What are we doing? We are doing this. Okay. We're looking for whatever the stable. Oh, man. Whenever I'm looking close and then I have to reorient. A-B-L-E. There we go. Weasel. Oh, I didn't type it in right. God damn it. S-A-B-L-E. There, weasel. Alright, what is this thing? Oh, it looks more like a weird fox hybrid a little bit. It's a chunky boy! Holy shit! That's a chunky ass boy. Can you guys see that? It didn't slide us. Nope. Overexposed. I did not expect that to be that. Can they have a? Can they be pets? I may go down this rabbit hole eventually. Just go like weasel pets. Best weasel pets. Positive, negatives. That's tough. That's tough. I don't know how to feel about that. Like I like them, but I wonder what the problems are. Because like every animal has a problem. You know what I mean? Also, question: big dogs, tiny dogs. Which ones? There's only one right answer. Okay, you are wrong if you pick the other one. Casper says, I have a slight golden retriever obsession. Dude, they're great. Golden retrievers are like love incarnate. Just pure, unaffected, like sturdy as hell love. In fact, if you're a person who likes to have golden retrievers, you're probably a great person to be around. Because you're a person who deeply enjoys people who are just overall fun, loving, etc. I would want to own one, but I love how they are always just so. Dude, they're so happy. They're also like one of the things that I. It's funny because I think a golden retriever fits in both ways. Where like I think if you're a very achieving kind of person, like you're very goal setting oriented, I think they work well for you because they kind of take you away from the work a little bit. You can just play with them and have fun. But then also I think they do good with people who are just fun loving, chill people. You know. Ray, look at Ray. Ray says, "Hi, Grim. I would have been here sooner, but I just woke up 30 minutes ago." I get you, Ray. We know how it goes, but we love having you. Thank you for being here, even for the wind down session. Fluff says, "The goal of Helldivers is to wage a war on multiple fronts where pushing the bugs and bots back from encroaching on the super Earth." Ooh, gotcha. Fluff says, "Yeah, I love sables. Yeah, that was a cool looking animal. I feel like it's to me. I think I would choose that over a ferret, but I think man, a fucking just the what's it called? That almost becomes like a dog. Like it just becomes that much more of a responsibility. Where like it seems like a bigger animal to take care of. But also, if it's in this weird space of like, do you just let it roam around your house? Do you like put it in a cage? I don't. Yeah, it's in that weird space where like I don't know what I do with this. Do I just treat you like you're a dog because you're kind of massive? Do you want to be around me constantly? You do not? I don't know. Do I have to take you everywhere? Are you okay being alone? You know, there's a lot of questions. Fluff says, "Yeah, I love stables especially. Big dogs all the way. There's only one right answer. It's big dogs. Why would you want less love? Why would you want less like hugs? All right, you want a big dog. There's nothing better in this world when you meet a big dog that forgets he's a big dog and loves you with all his heart, okay? And then he gets on your whole body and you feel so much weight on you, but then you know it's all just love. And you just bear hug this giant animal. And then it's just fuel for you to get much stronger. Go to the gym, lift heavier so that you can pick up that big boy and squeeze him real tight and pet him. And make sure you can survive 200 pounds, 120 pounds being on you for long periods of time and keep your breath." Love says, "I've seen some people keep them as pets, but domestic equivalent are ferrets and perhaps some weasel breeding." Ooh, I wonder. Yeah, I would worry about. I have heard ferrets are really good. The only thing I worry about ferrets is that apparently they have a smell to them. Like you have to wash them, I think, once a week or something because they have they secrete a grease almost, which is like ugh. And yes, Fluff says, Agra ferrets are majestic too. Let me look it up. What the fuck is an Agra ferret? I'm gonna open up a new tab because I don't want to lose that tab. All right, what the heck is an Agra ferret? Ferret. There it is. Okay, what is this? Ew! I don't like it. I don't like it. It looks like one of those fuckers that goes in the dirt. What is those weird things that have like just a pink blob on their face as a head? They like sift through dirt and whatnot. Yeah, there's nothing pleasant about that one. I mean, I get what you say when Fluff says majestic. It looks like a pampered poodle, which has like a blowout essentially and like really ploofy hair. But I'm not game. That looks terrifying. Okay. I feel much more comfortable with the bear one than the weird like tiny face, giant fur. Stables like to jump and pounce onto things, so you definitely need uh, a lot of space. Yeah. My ideal pet breed would be a golden Britain short hair cat. Jesus. Ah, fuck. All right. Stop saying breeds. I don't know what to envision, so I just looked them up. Let's see. Stop it. Don't open that. How good is this? Let's see. Golden British short hair cat. It's much easier than me typing. It's just a little poofy boy. It's a little short, pint-sized guy. Honestly, it looks like the kind of the bog standard cat thing, but a little bit like almost like he's permanently a baby. It's almost like take the bog standard yellow, gold, whatever cat, and then make him permanently baby-faced. He looks pretty fucking adorable. I don't really get the short-haired thing. He doesn't really look short-haired. I wonder if that just I'm not looking at the right thing. Golden British short-haired cat. Is that right? I think I got it right. Fluff says, Anora mammals tend to be very long-haired and fluffy. Gotcha. Casper says, with pets, I'm kind of weird. I wouldn't really want a pet that I would have a lot of physical connection with due to being slightly obsessed with being clean. My Instagram feed consists of Goldens. That's hilarious. Because I don't think you could pick a more a physically affectionate dog than a golden retriever. I honestly think, man, that actually may make some sense. I feel like that might be the reason why. I feel like if you are a person who has the natural tendency towards basically some distance, like keeping not being clean and having some distance, I think there'd be a part of you that would still yearn for connection, even if it's clean. I think you just have the cleanest golden retriever ever. And then you could cuddle and also I don't think, man. Let me tell you, Golden. Let me tell you, Casper. If you had, imagine this. You're on the couch, all right, and then this big hunk of love just comes up and just comes up with you, and then just lays down all of his whole weight on your chest as you're laying down, all right, and you just see him looking up at you, tail wagging, heart melted, okay? But guess what? As soon as you start petting him, you smell the most amazing shampoo smell you could ever smell, and you know that boy is clean because you washed him because you're a freak. Okay. And that's a beautiful thing, all right? That's only something that you could have with your weird proclivity, okay? Because dogs, man, if you ever smelled like a clean puppy or a clean dog, when you hug a bunch of fur, it's like taking a pillow full of just a wonderful fresh pillow with new sheets, and you lay down, and then you just get that, like, whatever kind of air freshener you have hit you, and you're like, oh, it smells so clean and so nice, and oh my God, oh. Fluff says, I love them. They'll be far easier to take care of compared to a long-haired cat. Yes. This sounds very strange. I am strangely intrigued by a hairless cat, the Egyptian kind, Something about it that seems, for whatever reason, kind of interesting, as much as it is also weird. Not like it's almost like I want you, but not for the right reasons. I want you because for whatever reason I feel like I want to take care of you, and you seem cold, and I want to cover you in a blanket, make you feel warm. Very not normal things. But yes, it's not. Yeah, I don't know. They look neat a little bit too. They look different enough to where you're like, huh. And some things, bald look terrifying. Cats, not so much. I don't feel like they look that terrifying. All right. Definitely look more cute when they're not bald, but They don't look. I feel like they look weirdly more dignified when they're like regal almost, which sounds just dumb, but. Fluff says, British short hairs are very chubby with short hair, dense fur, because that's what it is. So it's short hair, dense fur. That's what I was getting mixed up. Because it looked like they had a lot of fur still. Sphinx cats are interesting, but given my personal dislike for sunscreen, I don't really want to have to deal with applying such a... Yeah, I was about to say, that's one of the things I have heard too, is that where like those cats... People think that I think they're like a good cat if you're not allergic to cats. Apparently they're still... Like, what people are allergic to isn't necessarily the hair on the cat, it's their oil on their skin. So you're still allergic to cats, even if you have that one. Maybe there's, like, different variables on sickness, but it was one of the things I heard where people were like, this is not how that works. You can't, like, get a bald cat and not be allergic to them because you're allergic to cats. That's not how it works. What do you call it? I think, I heard people say how much work they are to maintain, and I just thought, ugh, too much, you know? However, for an exotic breed, I like Loki. They look like old school werewolves. Fuck it. Don't do this. Wow, is this a cat? A Loki? L-Y K-O-I-K-O-I-S. It says cat. A Loki cat? Ew! That does not look like a fucking werewolf. That looks like a fucking, yeah, that looks like a rat. It's not a werewolf. Nah, I guess. This one looks pretty werewolf-like. I guess. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, it's like, I guess it's a werewolf. It looks like a gross cat werewolf. Not like, oh, cool, cat werewolf. It's like, it's a bad variant. It's not like Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, the best werewolf you could ever envision. It's not that one, which looks like a fucking, what's it called? German Shepherd, basically. Just yoked out of its mind. It looks more like the Harry Potter fucking horrible werewolf transformation where he looks more like skin than he is fur. Boldy says, no, those burrows-looking cats are not not my cup of tea. I get it. I understand why they wouldn't be. I think they're like, it's a weird visual interest. Boldy says, everything else? Yes, please. Catherine says, that's why I like to watch them on IG. Also, I'm realistic with the fact that I won't want to be neglected pet owner. That's probably the best place to be. I feel like I'm in a very similar place where I love animals to bits, but I have so much stuff that I want to do, whether it's learning stuff, whether it's doing streaming, whether it's content creation, whether it's watching something. But I also feel like a lot of stuff like that, like I feel like anyone who probably has the capacity to think in that way, to think like this is, to not undermine the cost of something, tends to also be the person that can kind of, in some ways, manage that cost. Especially like, yeah, I think people don't realize how much time they actually have and how much meaning can come from a certain thing. Like I don't know many parents who are good parents who maybe even started having a kid without even trying, and they kind of got thrown into this life, who have regretted what at the time felt like a lot of responsibility to have to take on all at once, because I feel like if you're capable of more than you think you are in terms of like the stress and all the things that we're talking about. So I think I think if you got that dog, I think you'd actually be pretty surprised. I think a lot of us would. I probably would be too if I got my things like that. About how much you could make things work, you can find out stuff, and how much more meaningful and happy your life would be. Granted, the extent in which you love something is also the extent in which the pain you'll feel when it leaves will be. So yes, that's also something that I'm a little bit afraid of. Because I love things pretty hard. Boldy says, I don't care what breed, I just smoosh my face with the kittens. Yeah. Caspa says, I would prefer owning a cat. Really? Oh, Caspa, I just don't, even though when you just, for the short amount of time that I have just right now, I feel like, my man, I think it would not be the same. I think if you wanted to really feel love and happiness, I think you'd go with the dog. I feel like your subconscious is screaming at you Give me something that loves me and that I can love and that will make me feel like it's worth, like, it makes me better. I don't know many cat people who get a cat and they feel like, yes, I'm better now from having gotten it, because the dog needs you to live. A cat, arguably, a lot of times I feel like cats feel like they don't need you to live. There are some cats that are very much that feeling, I guess, of like, it very much looks at you like you are a part of my world. You're my world, essentially. If you weren't here, I wouldn't be as happy. I wouldn't be fed. I wouldn't know what to do. I don't feel like many cats have that. I feel like a lot of cats they have that independent feeling. Whereas dogs, I feel like a lot of dogs, I don't feel like all dogs feel like they look at you like that. Like you are the captain, essentially, and I'm following you. And that when someone looks at you like that, even if it's an animal, it makes you kind of feel like, oh, I need to be better. I need to work harder. I need to do more, and all that, you know. Lone says Lokis don't have an undercoat, so they look quite unusual. Yeah, Loki's pronounced using oh, lichen. Oh, cool. Oh, that's cool. That makes sense, actually, their name. I wonder which came first. As I said, the old movie werewolf. Yeah, old movie werewolf. Yeah, I still wasn't. I still think, like, when I think of old movie, I think of Van Helsing, I guess, which now is probably not that old in comparison. They're probably older. But yeah. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, that was a stream. What a fun time. That was like fucking time traveling. I feel like we've been having a lot of those streams recently where it feels like it's just boom, gone in a flash. Yeah, sometimes there were some streams where I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. But this stream was just great. I had some of my coffee, I had some of my tea, we had some great conversations. I'm excited for Withering Waves. I'm excited to read some Manhwa, but my god, do I have a lot to do today as far as editing and stuff like that. I also have to go. I got a message from someone. I got to make sure I didn't fuck up and mess up somehow. But ladies and gentlemen, hopefully I can see you once again. This was a lovely stream. I appreciate y'all being so sweet to me. And yes, I mean, last ending comments. Lichen definitely came first. Lichens are more recent exotic. Oh, I see. So that's what they're made of, was to be like. Gotcha. Casper says, I guess since they need less attention, that's why they seem more enticing in that way. Yeah, I know, but yeah, again, you know yourself better than some random asshole, such as myself. But I just think it's interesting that your subconscious mind, which I think is very powerful, is leading you towards an animal that is like literally the peak of love and like affection. But then your mind, your conscious mind, is like, well, but this makes the most sense. But I wonder if you get more if you get more out of it if you listen to your subconscious mind. But ladies and gentlemen, love you to bits. Hopefully I can see you again. I'm off to go talk to some people, make sure I didn't fuck up too bad and I missed some sort of thing I had to help in. And hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day. There is a video on the GRINN channel, which is basically a video on Power World. Love you to bits. Hope I can see you again, and goodbye. Bye.